And we are live for Rooted in Sports
The
Monday.
original crew back together again.
Back together. It's been on a we've been on a hiatus as a duo. I
Yeah,
know
man.
him and our silent business partner Amber.
Mhm.
His lovely wife. They've recently relocated from the Midwest to the South. How has that move went for you guys?
Oh man, it went pretty good, man. We down here in Dallas now, and still getting situated, still getting squared away. I feel like we finally got the crib together, and unpacked boxes and everything. So we finally got that together, man. And this is a good move for us, man. God is good all the time. Went to TD Jake's church yesterday. Okay.
Oh, that's right. He does have a church out there.
Yeah, man. Went to the church out there, man. His daughter actually spoke, heard a wonderful message.
Mhm.
And yeah, man, everything's everything, man. God is good. And, full speed ahead, man. What about yourself though, man? You didn't took the little trip and
Look,
out
I
there
had to.
acting up. You done
I just
hopped
took a
on with the hoochie daddy shorts and the chest hair out last week, okay?
semi hoochie daddy shorts, but no, man. It was just I was supposed to go to Cabo, but I had to make some last minute plans. So I just went to Rosarito, had a good time, and relaxed, man. Let a load off, and obviously I still can't stay away from the show because I was at Rosarito. I was on vacation
Mhm.
and still tuned in on the show because this is our baby. This is what we do. We do what we love. We love sports, but
Absolutely,
yep,
absolutely.
me and this lovely gentleman are finally back together, and we got some good things lined up for you guys today. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the NBA Finals. That's inevitable, right? So we'll touch up on that. And an exciting development. We had the NFL draft that just passed, and we
Hmm.
did our rooted in football segment. All right, so since the NBA draft is coming up, guess what it is now? It's rooted in basketball.
Basketball.
Oh, yeah,
We're
it
gonna
look.
we're gonna we're
Ooh.
gonna we're gonna tap into the draft just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It
Uh,
isn't no, it isn't as extensive as the NFL draft, but we're gonna definitely tap in it, and we're gonna start today at the top of the draft and really just break down what each team is probably looking at and what direction they're probably gonna go, man. So should be fun, man.
Yeah, and then we'll touch a little NFL. It's been some interesting developments in the past week, so we'll touch up on a little bit
Real
and
serious
talk.
topic. Real
Yeah,
serious
it's a
topic.
serious, sensitive topic, so we'll cover that as well. So let's get into this trusty intro. And just like that, we are back to Rooted in Sports. Hope everybody's doing good, right? So yeah, like I said, it's got some exciting things coming up. Now, first and foremost, I wanted to show you guys something cool. I feel like it's been a long time coming, so I feel like I have to do it. I showed Swan, so he went absolutely nuts when I showed him. So
Oh
I
yes,
had
sir.
I had a very special person.
Oh yes,
Sorry, I'm
sir.
directionally challenged. Make this placard or this frame. She framed both of the podcasts. Obviously, this is the Break Room Breakdown sports podcast, and then here's Rooted in Sports with me and some who. Oh, my bad. That's Swan. Yeah, that's him. This
Oh
guy I'm
yeah.
talking to right now.
You know what I'm saying? Swan Don, you know what I'm saying? One and only.
Uh-huh. And she also put like when it was established and stuff right that a really lovely friend of mine's named Nina. I like to call her Nina Bobina. But she looked out for me and she gave me this for my birthday. So um,
Shout out to Nina. You know what I'm
the,
saying? Can't say how much it is appreciated, man. A beautiful gift from a beautiful woman, man, and yeah, much obliged, much obliged.
yeah, the Rooted in Sports / Break Room Breakdown family appreciates you. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that was the cool thing. I had to show you guys that I've been geeking out over that for a couple weeks. But let's jump into this content, right? So, I want to just start out with a topic. Obviously everyone knows I grew up a Cowboys fan, big football guy. But we just lost Marion Barber on the first. and he was 38 years young, and
Mm-hmm.
he was found dead. There was a routine checkup at his what is that? A welfare checkup at his apartment, and they found him dead. Think they're still navigating on what the actual cause was, and they're still trying to figure out because his body was decomposing. But yeah, he's gone, and he was a anyone that watched football in the late 2000s. I mean, I call him beast mode before beast mode.
Yeah, that is an absolute fair comparison, man. He really was, man. That they really had really similar running styles and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's absolutely a great comparison, man. He had some really solid years for the Cowboys, man.
He did. He did. Physical years, obviously, because it took a toll on him. And you start to see
Didn't have
him.
a long career, did he?
No, about 7 years. About 7
Mhm,
years, and he finished. I think he only played about five years in Dallas, or 6 years in Dallas, and he ended his
mhm,
career. He played for the Bears, but
mhm.
he once he left the game, apparently he hadn't been doing very well, and I guess I wish I'd have queued up the picture. Maybe I still can. He didn't look very well. I want to say
Mhm.
they showed a picture of him. He got arrested about a year and a half ago. He didn't look very good. His dreads had fallen out. He looked very disheveled. I mean, man, it was just ugly. And this is Marion Barber, guy that was always a pretty clean cut looking guy. Um,
Mhm.
and he looked bad. He looked like I know obviously our natural thought would be CTE. Um,
Yeah,
due to his physical nature, but I mean, it could have just been regular mental health.
yeah.
But
Which
I,
I
I
think
think
both obviously are huge issues in the NFL abroad now, and then with the mental health. I mean, that's just huge, across all outlets, sports or business or just in general. You know what I'm saying, around the world in general. Mental health is obviously a huge deal, and yeah, like you said, I mean, obviously we don't know if it was CTE or anything related yet, but obviously, he was probably had some things going on, had some mental things going on. He probably kind of fell on a few hard times, and
mhm,
it's a really
it's
really
unfortunate.
sad unfortunate death. And I think that the NFL, okay, I know, and we know they've made a few adjustments as far as the game goes. We understand everything that happened once this research actually started, and this CTE was this big thing, and it came out.
Right.
And so we understand that initial effort that the NFL made as far as with the actual game. You know what I'm saying? As far as some of the rule changes they did, as far as with kickoffs, and some of the leading with the helmets, and we understand some of the rule changes they came up with to try to make the game a little bit safer. You know what I'm saying? To try to kind of hinder so many players ended up with this CTE or whatnot. But I
Mhm.
think I think the NFL just has to do more. You know what I'm saying? Especially for the player who's no longer in the league,
And
because
and
it's
it,
already cutthroat. It's already a cutthroat league. I think the NFL the NFL players life expectancy or whatever, and I mean when I say life expectancy, excuse me, they're professional.
they're
The
playing
average NFL player only plays about what,
three
5
to
years,
five. Yeah, three to 5.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, for guys, what about those individuals who came up playing football all their lives and this is all they know? They finally reached the pinnacle. They probably had to struggle to get in there. They're probably late fifth, sixth, seventh round pick if they were picked at all, maybe undrafted. Struggle going through the practice squad to make a squad, to only have a 3 to 5 year career, and then boom, they're gone. What do they do from there? But and they've given up their bodies physically for all this time. You know what I'm saying? You found entertainment in them. Marion Barber wasn't a scrub.
No,
Like he wasn't.
Marion Barber was probably a top 10 back for a good 2 to 3 years in the National Football League, and was
Yeah, it
arguably the
wasn't
league's
like he
most
was
powerful
just.
runner.
I think I would say during his time, during those
He
few
was.
peak years you just mentioned, I would say he was.
Yeah, he was.
And just like that, you mentioned it. A 7 year career. You know what I'm saying? Which is nothing, you know. And then just like that, it's all gone. And then in the NFL, especially at the running back position,
Position
you know, they can go through these backs like nothing. You know,
and toss them
they treat them
aside. Yeah.
exactly. And then it's just like, okay, what now? You know what I'm saying? Marion Barber, and I don't and you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if he ever had that huge payday.
Well,
So
I know. I think if I'm not mistaken, he had got 1 second contract with Dallas. I don't know if it was, obviously for that time, was the biggest payday. I don't think he was the highest paid running back, but if I'm not mistaken, he did get one additional contract with Dallas, and he didn't finish it out, obviously, because he started to
mhm.
wear down. It was hamstring, ankle, knee.
And
It started
obviously that
running.
wasn't fully guaranteed. He got whatever his
No,
bonus money was, and
yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
they cut him. He got up out of there. You know.
But here's the thing, and obviously there are the rigors of guys while they're playing. To me, the biggest issue is it's not about while they're playing because football is a gladiator sport.
Hmm.
I think Jamal Adams said it the best. Some people call it crazy. Jamal Adams said, "I love this sport so much, I'm willing to die playing it." But that's just how much he loves football, right? It's a gladiator
And
sport. It's not for everybody.
mhm.
That's the game. They know the risks that they're taking on when they play this game. They play this game because they love it. Now, where I think the NFL has to do better is putting structures in place to take care of these guys after they're playing. That's where the main
I
focus needs to
I
be
couldn't agree more.
because they're okay. Let's be honest. I think we're getting to a point, and maybe this sounds bad, that there has to be some iota of acceptance when it comes to things like CTE. It's obviously it's not anything that you want, but with constant, consistent head trauma,
Hmm.
that it's almost inevitable, right? The guys that make it out that don't have CTE or that have very minor cases are lucky.
Hmm.
So, what do you have in place for guys to help guys through that process? Do you have a program in place that, okay, if a guy, let's be honest, some guys, they know, and you come to the conclusion that they know that they have CTE. How can we help them prolong their lives? What can we put in place for that? But that's just CTE. What
Hmm.
about guys that just go through serious mental health issues, that have serious depression, that have post career depression, which is a real thing,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
that's just the NFL.
Because they don't know nothing else. They don't know nothing
They
else.
don't know
They
anything
went.
else.
They did their 3 years of college, but they went there to play football. They wasn't
There
necessarily invested into their education. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying. This is all they know.
there are guys, and times are changing because you're starting to see more players dibble in all sports, dibble and dabble in other things just so they have
Hmm.
something to move to. But for a majority of guys, especially during that generation, and maybe some of the last few that are still playing, um, football is all they know. So retirement and just moving on is not a simple thing. Even my father didn't play sports, but my father
Hmm.
was an engineer, worked for DWP for the city of Los Angeles. And retirement is really, he's going through right now. Retirement is very tough on him because he's worked there for 30 years. That's all he
Hmm.
knows is working with his hands, being an engineer, clocking hours, right? Taking overtime. That's all he
I,
knows.
I bring it even closer to home. You know, for two individuals like us. You know what I'm saying. I don't know about you, but I'll be personal, just speaking for myself. You know, I'm still adjusting to being out of the
Yeah.
service.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm still adjusting to, you know, not necessarily having that structure. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I'm still adjusting to not having the security. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I mean, I always tell people, you ask 10 different people about their time in the service,
And
especially in
you
the Navy, and you'll
you
get
get
10 different
10
answers.
different answers. Some
You know what I'm
people hated
saying?
it, some people loved it.
Yeah, but
Right?
at the end of the day, it was structure and it was job security. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'm still working my way through, you know what I'm saying, being out of the service now. You know what I'm saying? So you imagine these guys who football was all they knew. And once again, you know, the expectancy for a football player, you know, their playing careers on average 3 to 5 years, you know what I'm saying? They catch a few dollars, you know what I'm saying? And
And
they up their lifestyles, they have children, they have wives. Now their their families expect to stay at a certain lifestyle at a certain level, and then
and
all of a
yeah,
sudden, just like that, it's gone.
and I'm gonna tell you this. Just looking at some of the other, that's just Marion Barber. We just lost Marion Barber a few days ago.
Hmm.
around this time, maybe or this around this time frame or early in the year last year, we lost Vincent Jackson. He actually got diagnosed
Mm.
with CTE. He was
Really,
had a
really, really good wide receiver too. Really solid
re-
NFL career. Really good wide
right,
receiver.
really good wide receiver during this time frame. I want to say 6 1,000 yard seasons. Honestly, and maybe eventually might be a fringe Hall of Famer. Who knows? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we talking about Andre
We're
Benson. Go ahead, tell
yeah,
me.
yeah. My bad, Dre. Yeah, we're just talking about some of the recent deaths that have occurred in the NFL and what the NFL is doing and isn't doing and what they could do to kind of help the situation with some of these guys, whether it be through CTE or through some mental health issues or whatever. So we're just talking about that, bro. Thanks for
Right.
tuning in, Dre.
So, but yeah, no. So, but Vincent Jackson he was using a lot of alcohol. They said months leading up to his death, he was having mood swings. He was having a lot of CTE symptoms, and if I'm not mistaken, he died in a hotel room by himself. He kind of isolated himself from his family. And obviously, we can go. There are many CTE stories, but even looking at other stories, you had Philip Adams was another case that they said was CTE. He took the life of 6 people and then murdered
Mm,
himself. That was, I want to say, April of last year. We lost
mm,
Luis
mm,
Nix, who they say he drowned. They found him sitting in his car. These guys lost their
mm,
lives.
mm.
And I think I've mentioned this before. I had an interest in. I was able to get on an interview with Brad Johnson, and I remember
Quarterback, uh,
quarterback that played for the
uh,
Tampa Bay
Tampa
Buccaneers.
Bay Buccaneers, right? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I played for the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, the topic at the time, Vincent Jackson had just passed, maybe within 2 months, a month or something. And I remember just bringing it up and just seeing the pain and the discomfort on his face, and his whole body language changed. And he kind of got emotional. He can cry, but he started to kind of dwell on how a lot of the friends he's had a lot of friends in the National Football League get out and not get the proper medical care, not get the proper mental health care, not get the proper financial help. He said a lot of a lot of guys went broke getting out of the National Football League, and he even talked about maybe some steps, and he dealt with a little bit of depression, transitioning out of playing in the National Football League. He had to figure out what he wanted to do, and he had
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to manage and monitor his body, because some guys, you play long enough, especially during that era, you waking up, it's not a matter of you not hurting, it's how much you're hurting. These
Right.
guys are managing their body for the rest of their lives because they beat it up so bad. So he said that he really didn't feel like the NFL was had done a great job of taking care of guys, and not just regular, what I like to call lunch pail guys. I'm talking about guys that were superstars in this league. So yeah.
I was actually watching an episode of the Pivot, and shout out to those guys, the Pivot and I Am Athlete. Shout out to both of those both crews there.
Mhm.
I was actually watching an episode of the Pivot, and Marvin Sapp was on. I mean, not
Mhm.
Marvin Sapp, Warren Sapp. I said
Warren Sapp.
not Marvin, Warren Sapp, Hall of
Mhm.
Fame defensive tackle. Warren Sapp was on, and he said that he has CTE, and it's
Mhm.
crazy to hear from an individual
Say it.
who's still alive and that's been diagnosed and now knows that. But he
Mhm.
said what really rung the alarm for him was that he and a friend, I think it was a former attorney friend of his or whatever, he and a friend was actually they had made a plan for the next day that they were just going go do it up. You know what I'm saying? They had
Mhm.
made all these great plans about the next day.
Mhm.
And so he says he gets up that morning, he hops in his car, and boom, he's on the way or whatever. Woo woo woo. And he says midway in the drive, he just totally forgets what his plans are or what he's going to do or what he's supposed to be doing right now. Like he's
Mhm.
at a complete blank, almost
Wow.
to the point that he doesn't even know where he's going now because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
Mhm.
And so he stops. He said he basically said he stops. He pulls over and he starts, calling around. And he's just like bro, like what am I supposed to be doing today? Or where am I going today? Or where am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so he says he ends up turning around, and he
Mhm.
said he didn't even remember until later that evening when the
What?
individual he was supposed to have been hanging with actually called him and was like, "Hey, bro, you didn't make it to the office, bro. Like we turned up. Like what happened?" Woo. And he's like, "Oh, damn. Like that's it." And he said since then it's happened to him a few times.
Right.
So he says that now
He
it's
monitors it.
almost it's like now he's like it's almost like how to like he almost treats it like Alzheimer's or something, to the point where he writes notes and he'll put a little note or something on the kitchen for himself or whatever. If he has something really important to do, you know what I'm saying, he'll leave a little note or something on his refrigerator or something, so that he gets up and early in his day and he'll take that with him just so he remembers. He writes stuff down. He has so many notes now because that just kind of freaked him out. And that just goes to show you, we look at these guys and football is the most popular sport in America.
It is.
And we just it's also probably the most loved, and we just don't really understand what these guys are really going through. Like these guys are literally putting their lives on the line every Sunday for our entertainment. And the NFL is just not doing enough to make sure that these guys are okay post career. They're just simply not doing enough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm not in a position to really say what they could or should do. Like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but I think for a league that doesn't offer any guaranteed money, for a league that I feel, for lack of better words, I feel like sometimes they treat their players like crap. They need to figure something out.
Well, one thing I thought about, not to dwell too long on this, because obviously we got some basketball to touch on too, but I look at us as military guys and me being service connected. I'm a fully disabled veteran. Gladiators. But I'm a fully disabled veteran. But I think the NFL, especially being such a lucrative operation, and they have the money, maybe can adopt some of the military. People can be like, this guy is crazy for saying this, but maybe can adopt some of the practices that the VA uses for veterans. Really putting that program in place, checking on, having a routine checkup, calling guys every 3 to 6 months. Maybe having some iota. And once again, I guess I would have to look a little bit more on what because I know they have some form of a pension, something. But what healthcare?
But that's monetary. That's kind of monetary though. They need some professional. These guys.
Exactly.
It would seem as if these guys need some sort of professional assistance. They need therapy. They might need some of the outlets. Some of these guys, that pension ain't doing nothing for them.
I think they should have a literal program or association with their own doctors and but once again, just like the VA,
similar to the VA, yeah,
like their own NFL, their own like their own hospital, their own clinics, something like that, right? But I don't know. That's my thought process. I think they can learn a little bit. This probably wouldn't be one of the few times you guys will hear me say this, but that'll be something that they can learn from the military, from Uncle Sam.
I mean, hey, I agree, man. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? I'm a disabled veteran as well, and you and I both can agree that the VA, hey, it's doing its job for us. You know what I'm saying? As much as we both admit that we are still kind of adjusting to life out of the service, because we are both still, fairly recently out of the service. But thanks, Dre. But as both we both agree that we're both recently out of the service and we're both still adjusting. You know what I'm saying? That the VA has been very helpful for the both of us, in all seriousness. So maybe the NFL can maybe do some research and maybe reach out to some military personnel or something and just see how can they set up some sort of program or something to help, other than just pension, other than just monetarily, but some sort of mental health. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they can get some guys in. And then for me too, also maybe for the guys that are current players, put some system in place so that they can maybe try to catch early symptoms of CTE while guys are still in the league. You know what I'm saying? Nip that in the bud early. You know what I'm saying? Maybe every 3 years or so, get these
Mhm.
guys in and run some sort of test on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See what
Or
these early signs are. Give
uh,
these guys a choice. At least let them know, hey, this is what's going on with you. This is what you're looking at. Give these guys a choice to really take hold and take control of their future.
and I'm gonna tell you this on a lighter note, on a more positive note, that's what the NFL can do. What we're starting to see players do, which you know, granted, I'm a humongous football lover. I love the game.
Hmm.
But to me, there's nothing more satisfying than seeing guys take control of their lives and retire early, no matter if they're a great
Oh
player in the
yeah.
league. We saw Travis Frederick for the Dallas Cowboys say, "Hey, I just don't, I'm not feeling it anymore." And he was
Even
one of
Andrew
the
Luck. I wasn't mad at Andrew Luck.
you wasn't mad at Angela. You
I
could tell
I,
it
I,
hurt
I
him,
couldn't be mad at
but
him.
but
Yeah.
but he had to step away and he wanted, and now he looks happy. He looks skinny,
Yeah.
but he's happy. A former Notre Dame guy for Pittsburgh, Stephen Tuitt, just stepped away from the game after 8 seasons, and he was actually just really entering his prime and becoming a pretty goddamn good player.
You can help me with it. The linebacker with the Niners.
Oh, that played for Wisconsin. I know what you're talking about.
Um,
He played 1 year. He played 1 year in the league. He was pretty damn good. I forget his name. Sorry, guys.
I
Sometimes I
can't
forget
either.
names. But he only played one year in the
Just
league. He
leave
was
it.
actually pretty. It'll come back to me, but he was actually pretty good. Um, actually had was looking like he could be like a Pro Bowl type of guy.
Absolutely.
And then he leaves the game. Said he didn't want to have CTE. Had it. He was concerned about head injuries and things of that nature. So long story short, guys are taking control of their careers. The players are starting to do what the players can do, and they're prioritizing their health, their mental health. You've seen
As they
guys
should.
as
As
they
they
should.
should.
You've seen guys like Calvin Ridley, obviously before the suspension, but you've seen him step away, take care of himself. We've seen Lane Johnson do that. So players are
Yep.
starting to catch on that, okay, if we right now, since the NFL doesn't have something in place, we have to take care of this thing because we still have to live life, we still have families, and we still got to figure this thing out on our own. So it's good to see the players doing that, especially while the NFL is kind of still behind in those regards of putting something in place. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, we'll monitor that going forward. But RIP Marion Barber, RIP to
Yes,
all
definitely.
NFL, any NFL player. Obviously this is the stuff, mental health and CTE. But
Even
RIP to
even the
all
guys,
that
yeah,
died in car
Dwayne
accidents.
Haskins, the Gladney,
Jeff
for
Gladney,
Jeff
yeah,
Gladney. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's
RIP.
it's it's I don't it's just crazy, man. We losing these NFL players left and right, man, and nobody deserves those fates, man. So
Yeah. But
yeah,
life is
RIP to
short.
all those guys. Yeah.
Life is short. But we'll talk a little bit more about the NFL later or next episode. But I definitely we
Mm.
gotta talk NBA finals. Chris Borland, thank you.
Chris
Thank you.
Borland.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah. So we got to jump into some NBA finals. I know that's what you guys have been, everyone's been excited to see and excited to hear about. So the Celtics and the Warriors are going head to head. As you guys know, and anyone that's followed Rooted in Sports, me and Swan, yeah, I've been rocking with the Celtics since round one. He had the Nets beating them. He had Milwaukee beating them. He had Miami beating them.
I did. I
And,
did.
and, and I've been rocking with
I
them.
did.
They haven't failed me yet. They're young and they're inconsistent, but god damn it, they're finding a way to get the job done. So how about this, Swan? I want you to tell me some of your thoughts on what let's preface it like this. Okay.
Hmm.
We got game one and we got game two. They couldn't be any more different, right?
Agreed.
Game one was Boston essentially punching Golden State in the mouth. And they
Hmm.
showed we're tougher than you guys. We know you guys are flashy. You can come off screens. You can score. You can score in bunches. They overcame obviously two double-digit deficits to come back and win the game.
They
Um,
did.
so so they outlasted. You saw Golden State was pretty damn tired. They had hands on their knees and stuff. They're like, man, these guys putting bodies on us all day.
Hmm.
Um,
Because
and
they're
then
physical.
they're physical. And in game two, I think there was some questionable officiating, but I also think at the end of the day that Boston turned the ball over a lot. They made
They
a lot of
did.
mistakes.
They
Um,
did.
some people didn't show up, especially from a scoring standpoint. And then Golden State had their quintessential third quarter explosion, and they just
The
weren't able to.
usual.
The
Yeah.
usual was what we expect, and they weren't able to survive it. What are your thoughts on game one and game two?
Um, first of all, let me say this. Now, granted, I did pick Golden State to win this series in 7. For anyone who has any doubt about this Boston Celtics team and how serious they are, clearly you're not watching. You haven't watched these guys. You know what I'm saying? Because and I think I mentioned this last week. They went through a gauntlet to even get here. They faced a Brooklyn Nets team who I think everybody had them losing to. Okay. Then they went on the next round. Granted, Chris Middleton was out, but they played still a pretty game Milwaukee Bucks team. Went to 7 games, won game 7 at home. Then they played a really good Miami Heat team. Wrong about the Celtics. Then they played a really good Miami Heat team who they had to win another game 7 against on the road. So I think if I was to have one word to describe this Boston Celtic team, it's resilient. They're just flat out resilient. You know what I'm saying? They find a way to win, and they win tough ones. They actually, I believe they actually have a better record on the road in these playoffs than they do at home. Just a really resilient team. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, I think you can really look at this series, 2 ways. You can look at it like this. You can look at it and say Golden State should really be up 2-0 because but look, I mean, look at it like this. The majority, even though Boston had a lead at halftime of game 1, they were up 2 points at halftime of game 1. Mm-hmm. But even with Boston having that lead, you felt like game 1 felt like, at least for those first 3 quarters, it felt like it was going Golden State's way. It was being played at Golden State's pace, at their preferred pace. But then you see them kind of, they did, what they do in the third quarter, built this lead. And then you seen just how resilient and how tough of a team Boston is. They came out in the 4th. And, Jaylen Brown got him started. He scored 10 quick ones in the 4th. And then Al Horford hit some big ones. And then down the stretch, Marcus Smart hit a couple big threes to just put the game away. And obviously, Derek White made some huge shots in game 1. And you looked up and, hot dog, Boston pulled it out. Then, you got game 2 last night. And that was just a case of Golden State being Golden State. And in this game last night, instead of them faltering after that third quarter and into the 4th quarter, they kept their foot on the pedal. And they ultimately blew the game wide open. One thing that I think to look at in the future, though, Klay Thompson is struggling.
He is.
He is really, really, really struggling. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, because I said even in this series, it's a 7-game series for me. Steph Curry has been playing well. 34 game 1, 34 in game 1, 29 in game 2. Steph Curry is going to need one other guy to really kind of, come along with him. You know what I'm saying? I think that it was important for them because yesterday, I don't know if you noticed, especially in the second half, Jordan Poole finally started to get it going. And that's a really, really, really important player for them. But with that being said, they're gonna need Klay Thompson to come along, man. And I don't know if you noticed this. If you noticed, even in garbage time yesterday, when the game was already out of hand, if you noticed, Steve Kerr kept Klay Thompson in the game up until about
because he's trying to get him going. He's trying to get him going.
He needs Klay. He knows how important Klay is to this series.
But I'll tell you this, you mentioned Klay Thompson, which I think eventually he's going to get going. And when he explodes, he's going to explode. It's going to be hot. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned Jordan Poole. I'll tell you another player who I think they're going to need a lot out of him on the offensive side of the ball as well as defense. And that's Andrew Wiggins. Which he's answered the call more times than not this season for them. I'm really proud of the player that he's starting to become. But I think that Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are the important players for this Golden State team, because you have a Klay Thompson that still have a little bit of rest. Let's be honest, he didn't play for the better part of 2 years. And then Steph is getting a little bit older. Draymond is Draymond, right? We're not,
Man,
we're
and I
not,
want to when we get through to this, I want to say something. I want to hit on something real quick about Draymond.
uh,
But we're gonna finish this little talk, and
Lord,
I
yeah,
gotta hit on something about Draymond. But go ahead.
yeah. But no, I mean, Kayvon Looney, they kind of, they trust him. He'll grab boards and stuff like that. Maybe you throw him a couple, he'll rim run his ass off, and he'll do some things of that
Hmm.
nature. But he's
He's
not
he's been
anybody.
playing really
No,
big for them, and the fact that he's been rebounding, especially getting offensive rebounds. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
They haven't been able to really. I say these past two series, no one's really been able to keep him off the backboard, and if
No.
nothing else, he's been getting them second chance opportunities.
Well, I think it's because when you compare him to maybe what the Celtics have. They got Robert Williams, who's obviously battling injuries, and they got Al
Hmm.
Horford, but they don't have big guys. And it's not that Kayvon Looney's the biggest guy. I know he's about 6'9", 6'10" himself, but he
Hmm. But
plays
he
like a really
plays
true,
big.
like he plays big. And I think he's not worried about scoring. Those are his main responsibility. He's worried about grabbing
Hmm.
boards and rim running and doing things of that nature. So he's
He
helping.
kind
But
of reminds me of uh
don't say Andrew Bogut when they.
Cleveland Tristan Thompson.
Okay, I can see
And
that
how
with more
he was a
with,
he
with
was
probably a bigger
rebound, yeah.
wingspan. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Larger wingspan, but
larger wingspan.
just how tenacious of a rebounder he is, especially on the offensive rebounding side.
Yeah,
He kind of reminds me, you know what I'm saying, of a
Tristan
Tristan Thompson
Thompson,
in Cleveland,
under
yeah.
undersized big. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the offensive workload, somebody's going to have to pick up that pace. And I think it's going to have to be between Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole, or a consistent conjoined effort between the two. Because I know last night, I want to say Andrew Wiggins had about 11, and then you saw Jordan Poole had 17. That's good. They can win. They
Yeah.
can win if they continue to give them that. Steph's going to get you 25 to 30. I mean, he scored 29 points. He's definitely capable of more. And as Clay continues to get his feet wet and get his legs under him, I think that'll pick up as well. Right.
Clay
But
was four for 19 from the field.
hey, but you know what? They gonna let him keep jacking them until they start
Shout
falling.
out to Bo.
Best
Shout
door
out to my boy Bo.
Bo Peterson,
Mr.
right?
Baltimore Ravens. But
Slash
Mr.
Darwin,
Dallas Mavericks.
right?
But
So
yeah, man. I mean, yeah, Clay 4 for 19, and then quietly Looney was 6 for 6.
yeah,
While we talk about Kayvon
yeah.
Looney, quietly he was 6 for 6, 12.7 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even think that stat line really shows how important and how much of an impact that he actually had on that game last
No,
night.
he did. He did. He did. He did a really damn good job. He grabbed a lot of important boards. He did a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet.
He did. And then I want to, and this is crazy. His stat line isn't going to show it. But yesterday, Andre Iguodala, didn't play. He had little knee issues, whatever. He didn't play yesterday.
Mhm.
His stat line isn't going to show it. But Bielica came in the game yesterday,
Yeah.
and he really, had some energy for them. He really came in and got some rebounds. There were a
Mhm.
couple possessions where he was really able to move his feet and get a couple stops here and there. So I think Golden State, and another good point about this series, whereas you're seeing Boston really stick with their core guys, only with
Right.
that 7, maybe 8 guys. I think Golden State is showing just how deep they can go in a lineup. You know what I'm saying? Because we know they're starting 5, but then they still can bring Jordan Poole off the bench. They still can bring Iguodala off the bench. They still can bring Otto Porter off the bench. Now they're giving now Bielica was able to sneak some minutes in yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So they've got some guys they can get really kind of confidently go deeper into their lineup.
So let me say this about Boston. Kayvon Looney has to rebound consistently. He did. He looked great last night. Let me say this about Boston. Um, if Ime Udoka is able to win a damn championship with this team, because they're the most inconsistent, dominant team I've ever seen. And it's because they don't have any one person, and it's
Golden State.
crazy.
Wait,
But
who's the most? I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Boston now.
Boston. Okay.
They don't have any one person. Damn, it hurts to say this. That's a guarantee. They don't have any
In
person
what
on
sense?
their
What you mean?
roster that you know is going to come and and well, let's speak more on the offensive side of the ball. Marcus Smart is always on his job, especially and
Mm-hmm.
Robert Williams as well. But from an offensive standpoint, they don't have one guarantee that okay, I know this guy's going to give me 20 points. They don't have one. They don't.
So even you say that even with them having Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, they're very inconsistent. But and this is and I'm still rocking with Boston. I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off, until they lose, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Tatum, obviously he last night he gave us what 29 points, 28 points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
But game one he did struggle though.
he could easily have 10 or 11 points in next game. Jalen Brown has his ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't want to be unfair and expect too much out of Al Horford because I know he led them in scoring game one and helped them
Mm-hmm.
pull out the win. But that's
But
him.
then I mean, I don't even. What did he have? Like three
He had two.
points.
He had 2 points.
He followed it
He
up
had
with a
two
2-point effort. You know.
with negative 15.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus minus negative. Yeah.
Plus minus
Minus
negative,
15.
negative, right? So, um, that's what's plaguing them is because there's just so much inconsistency, and that's something I said that's shown up in other series that I said that they can't afford to let something like that continue to linger through this series because it'll get them beat. Now, granted, I think it was a lot of factors, a lot of variables that played into this loss. I think officiating was terrible. And obviously by
Really.
what the hell they was letting. Did you see what the hell they was letting Draymond Green? They let him act a goddamn fool up in there.
I'm once again.
Yeah.
I want to get through this, and then I want to hit on Draymond Green personally because I'll be honest, and I'm glad we're mentioning him because I have a lot to say about Draymond Green. So I want to get through this, and then we'll double back to Draymond.
Yeah.
But I'm with you.
It just felt like the powers that be was not gonna let them go up 2-0 on Golden State. That it just felt like that.
I can see that.
It felt like the universe was like this isn't gonna happen. And
I can see
I
that.
wasn't a big fan of the officiating, so I think that definitely played a part. And then they're a young team. I think they started to get rattled a little bit, and they got inside their head. And after a while, you saw probably maybe midway through the third quarter, they kind of let their foot off the gas and was like, "Yeah, we beat tonight. We can go ahead and cash this one in." And
Yeah, because I believe they came out start the fourth quarter with the bench guys.
oh yeah, it was a wrap.
They started the
Fourth
fourth quarter with a whole new five. So yeah, they
Wave the
pretty
white
much
flag. Wave the
yeah.
white flag. Go ahead and cash this one in. We'll chalk this one up to a loss. So they're gonna have to dig deep. This is gonna say a lot about Tatum. Can he really step up and
Uh-oh.
or him and Jalen Brown? I was like, okay, what we got? Kenny after game one. Celtics dominating. Tatum only scored 12. I did though, and I'm gonna tell you this: if you want to be honest, going into this game, the Celtics were really controlling the game. The first quarter and a half, the Celtics were dominating this game. And then obviously a turn of events. Guys start getting in foul trouble early, and then
He makes a good point though.
Clay
So
goes ice cold.
Clay, he's game one. Tatum, can't hit the sand from the beach. He does have 13 assists though, and that just kind of showed the way that Jason Tatum's game is maturing. Because a year or two ago, if Jason Tatum's having a bad game, he's just having a bad game. He couldn't affect
Sure.
the game in any other manner. But now,
Right.
although he had a terrible game, he did have 13 huge assists for them in game one. And then he says here in game two, Clay goes ice cold and the Warriors dominate. And you're right.
But Bo, if we want to look at it like that, most of Boston's team went ice cold. I mean, Marcus Smart only gave you 2 points. You only got
Derek White came down to earth.
You only got 2 points from Robert Williams. Al Horford had 2 points. Like
they only had 3 guys in double figures. And I believe that was Tatum Brown, and then I think Derek White had like 11. So
yeah, so
Derek White had 12. Derek White had 12. So
yeah, he said different game if Green gets second tech. I concur, but I'm sure we're gonna.
I agree. At the more I've watched it, especially today, because I watched it over and over again today. Initially watching it, I'm just like, all right, don't we can't do it. But the more I watch it, the more I'm like, you know what? Get his ass out of here. like, but and you know what? Look, you know what? Listen, I'm gonna just go ahead and just give me a minute here.
Go ahead. So, take the reins.
So, we got our Rouge in Sports community.
Mhm.
And I think I kind of alluded to this on Saturday. Um, okay, let me just start. Let me start with this game before I get to the other stuff. Let me
Okay.
start with this game. Draymond Green was reckless,
He was.
especially in the first half. Like he was just out of control. He already had one tech. Okay, looking at that play with him and Jaylen
Brown.
Brown, like I said, the more I looked at it, especially this morning, in if it's any other situation on any other situation, they call double text just because the refs want to get control of the game.
Right.
But in that situation, I think they knew, okay, we already gave Draymond a tech. We already know what happened. We've already seen him miss a finals game a few years back and how that affected the whole outcome of the finals and the momentum in the finals. I think they knew in the back of their heads, if we give Draymond this tech right here, he's out for the game. And Golden State loses this game. Now they're down 2-0. The narrative is going to be just how much we affected
Affected
this
the outcome.
NBA series, this outcome. You know what I'm saying? That being said, man, like it Draymond be, I'm really critical of this dude, like he be doing too much, man. He's so wild on the court. He's so reckless. And it's crazy because let me say this. Draymond Green, from a basketball standpoint, Draymond Green, if you watch him, he does have a pretty solid basketball IQ. He
I think he
does.
has a really good basketball IQ. I think he knows exactly what the hell he's doing.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, now I'm gonna flip the script. With that being said, he's made quite a few comments this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes out, he says earlier this week, he says that, Steph Curry was getting 7 times the amount of double teams that Kevin Durant was getting when Kevin Durant was on the team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's what I say to that. It really trips me out and it really makes me sick. And you can say whatever you want about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is probably the most sensitive superstar ever. He is Mr. Twitter fingers. You know what I'm saying? But on the basketball court, I love Kevin Durant's game. Okay. And I think that Draymond Green is so big on the core 3, or you can even say the core 4. Him,
Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, him, Clay, Steph, and then maybe you can throw Andre Iguodala in there. He is so big on those core guys that I think that he tries to downplay what Kevin Durant was for them in 2017 and 2018. Because look at it like this. Okay, for a guy that, you say, hey, Steph Curry, he got 7 times the double teams that Kevin Durant did. Then he came back at the end of last night's game, unwarranted. At least the first time he was asked a question and he answered it.
Mm-hmm.
Last night in the press game, in the post game conference, unwarranted, he just off the blue and says, "Yeah, man. I mean, even when KD was here, we always ran through stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he keeps throwing these unwarranted jabs. He keeps trying to come at a guy. He keeps trying to make it seem like they never needed Kevin Durant when, by all reports, they were the ones who went and chased KD down. They weren't on KD's radar initially, but they went to the Hamptons and chased him down to come to their team. And why? Because they knew they were up 3-1 in a series against a Cleveland Cavaliers team that they knew when that Cleveland Cavalier team is healthy, and I'm not a huge LeBron head, but they knew when that Cleveland Cavalier team is healthy, they couldn't beat them as presently constructed. Even if we're being real, even in 2015, Kevin Love was out and Kyrie Irving got hurt, I believe, in game one.
But they had Matthew Dellavedova, so that makes up for it.
And speaking of Matthew Dellavedova, that very same team was down 2-1 to LeBron and the Janitors. You know what I'm saying? So They
I mean,
they
okay, I
knew
make what you're
they
saying.
knew that they needed Kevin Durant to beat that Cleveland Cavalier team. They needed him to beat that team. And that's my only point. Like, why does Draymond insist on throwing jabs at a guy that they chased? They went out after him. Now,
And
granted, he accepted. He came along because this is my theory. I think that they needed each other, equally.
equally.
I think that they both needed each other equally. I think Golden State knew that they needed a guy like him to kind of give them that edge over a team like Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? Vice, I think that Kevin Durant needed Golden State, and he needed to get from up under Russell Westbrook and get into a system where they just play freely and play that hot potato type of basketball. It's
Mhm.
in Golden State, it's all about ball movement and player movement. And Kevin Durant is such an efficient scorer and such a high IQ guy and such a great player that he knew he would fit in seamlessly in that system.
And
And
I'll
he did.
I'll slip this in, especially this show you how unbiased I am because I've been putting all my money on Boston. If they have a Kevin Durant, if they have a Kevin Durant in that game one, they beat the Celtics. They're up. They're probably up 2-0 right now
Oh, I agree with
because
that.
they don't have anybody. They don't have anybody in the wing. Well, first of all, I don't think outside of Steph, they don't have anybody that can consistently really get a bucket. I mean, Andrew Wiggins could do a little bit. Jordan Poole has kind of simmered down. He's trying to figure it out. But they don't have a KD that at the waning minutes of the game, they can give him the ball and say, "You take it, close us out." They don't have that guy.
Mm.
So I think we've seen what you're saying is accurate. They need each other. They needed each other, um, to kind of have that continued success.
And I think game one was a real evidence of why they needed a Kevin Durant. And that's not to say that they won't win this series, because like I said, I still pick Golden State to win this series in 7.
And I still
But I
got
think
Boston
you
in 6,
but I think you look at a
despite
game
everything I'm
one,
saying.
and I think you look at a game one, and that's game one is reason why they needed a guy like Kevin Durant, because like I said, once again, they're a team that's predicated on player movement and ball movement. But when they run across a team, or when they run across situations in a game where teams are a team like Boston, who has a bunch of guys in a similar mold, in a similar, either they're great defenders or they're similar in size, where they can just switch everything.
Hmm.
You need, in a situation like that against a team like a Boston, every now and again, when the offense just ain't running, you need a guy that you can just give the ball to and get the fuck out his way.
I
And
agree.
and that's Kevin Durant. As great as he is in that system, he's still a freak of nature with the ball in his hands. He's still that guy. You can give him the ball and get out of his way,
But I
and
was,
he's gonna go get a bucket.
yeah. But I
Even
will say,
even better than Steph Curry can. And I don't care what Draymond Green says about Steph Curry.
hey,
He
watch
can
this.
say whatever he has to say about Steph Curry, but
Hey,
those 3 years that Kevin Durant were on the Golden State Warriors, there was never any doubt who the best player on that team was.
I would agree with that. But remember talking about being doubled. I mean, they did pull up a stats and root of the sports community, and it did look like they was doubling Steph a whole hell of a lot. So I think he gave Kevin Durant, even though Kevin Durant could be perceived as the bigger threat, he did give Kevin Durant gave him a lot of really great looks because people were just
I,
scared to. Would
and
you
that's
agree with that?
true. That's true, but and I can't think of his name, but like one of the guys was saying Saturday, I think it was Isaiah actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was saying Saturday, you got to really look at the game and really see where those double teams are coming from. A lot of those double teams were coming simply because obviously Steph has greater range than Kevin Durant does.
He does.
So Steph is the type of guy that you have to pick up as soon as he cross half court, because he can confidently pull up the moment he crosses half court. And so they're sending that double team to get the ball out of his hands at half court. But that I don't think that takes into account the times when Kevin Durant is getting the ball on the block and they're sending a double team there because Kevin Durant's going to have his way. What are you going to do with that? You know what I'm saying? I just think that I just really feel like they were equally as important. Yeah, and those are the numbers right there.
It says 62
I just the two double teams at the top of the key equals 4-3 with the spread floor of Durant and Clay and Draymond making the read. Easy life for Durant. And look, that may be the case. That may be the case. But here's my rebuttal to that. Here's my rebuttal to that. And I'm gonna even give him another layup. Tyronn Lue, while coaching those Cleveland Cavalier teams, he even said, Tyronn Lue said, their ultimate focus was to stop Steph Curry. That's what he said.
Right.
So let's look at what that got him, right? That got him 2 consecutive losses to a Kevin Durant-led Golden State Warriors team and 2 consecutive finals MVP by a Kevin Durant that he refused to focus on because his focus was on Steph Curry.
Okay,
so what does that say?
Now, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. Even though we all here know that Kevin Durant is the more talented and probably more dangerous player, probably the most skilled player we ever seen, in one of the most skilled player we've ever seen in the NBA. Can we agree that Cleveland didn't have anybody for him? So who are they going to who's they going to throw at him to slow him down? Definitely not LeBron. Hope we not. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like in a way, and this is just me kind of meeting everybody halfway. Maybe he's like, look, we know we're not going to stop Kevin Durant, and we're not going to waste anybody by throwing them at him. We might as well just focus everything on Steph.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very, I don't think that's a bad strategy because you might as well let Kevin Durant get his. But I'd be damned. We know Steph is a catalyst. That's what I call him. I think he's a catalyst. Once he gets going, everybody else gets going.
True.
So I think that was the smarter play. So I mean, maybe that could attribute as to why Steph had so many double teams versus Kevin Durant, because they're like, okay, we're not. This is a 6'10", 6'11" wing that has range, that can score any way he wants to. Why would we waste guys on him?
And that's a very valid point. That is a very valid point. But just looking at it from Ty Lue's standpoint, who said once again their focus was to stop Steph Curry, and what did that get him? You tried that was your focus for 2 consecutive years in the finals, because 2 years you played a Golden State Warriors team with Kevin Durant, and that was your focus 2 years in the finals. And what did it get you? You lost twice, one in a sweep, one in a gentleman's sweep, and 2 times Kevin Durant won Finals MVP. So you would think after the first time, it's, what? Okay, well, let me try to switch this thing up. Maybe I should try to stop this guy. Oh, and quiet as it's kept, with all those double teams that Steph Curry was getting, quiet as it's kept, statistically, those were his 2 best finals when Kevin Durant was there. Look it up, guys. If you look at him statistically, those were Steph Curry's 2 best finals statistically when Kevin Durant was there. So who needed who? Because to me, I say they needed each other.
I agree. Look it up, you're not going to stop anybody, but you're right.
There's a reason why Steph Curry's a great player. You know what I'm saying? I think I was discussing this with Isaiah the other day. I think if he wins this championship, you have to seriously consider Steph Curry as a top 10 player all time. You have to seriously consider that.
You don't think he's already a top 10 player? No?
I think he's in an argument. I think I can't say he's not in an argument. If he wins this finals, I mean, second best point guard ever. I think shout out to Elijah Craig. I think you have to seriously consider it. that might be a debate. That might be a topic that we might have to go over here on the show at a later date, because I think you have to seriously consider that.
Okay.
But
Top 10 list coming soon.
yeah, NBA top 10 list. That's gonna be a topic we're gonna have to come up with coming soon. You know what I'm saying? But then there was a thing, like, once again, I was talking to Isaiah, and he came up with 10 guys last week so quick. If you guys didn't see last week's episode, just trying to kind of run back and check it out. He came up with 10 guys so quick that it was like, dog, who do I take out of that 10? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. A debate for another day. A debate for another day. You know what I'm saying? It is. It's seriously a debate for another day. But I went on this rant. I've been saying all this just to say, Draymond Green has to stop, man. He has to give Kevin Durant credit where it's due. And if he wasn't that important to that team, then why did y'all go running after him when y'all lost a 3-1 lead? So now my boy here said Isaiah. I'm sorry, Dre. I gotta put Steph ahead of Isaiah. Steph is the second best point guard ever. I gotta put Steph ahead of Isaiah. I'm sorry. It's Magic Steph now.
You think Mike would agree with that?
Man, look, Isaiah wouldn't be on Mike's list.
Yes, he was. Mike said he had Isaiah second.
He did. I mean, that's on them. For me right now, Magic Steph is 2. Yeah. Isaiah 3.
And we're okay. So let me ask you this. I know this guy. Why did he run after us after he blew it? Okay. I know this guy's a little further down the troll, but where do you have Jameer Nelson?
Come on, man. Don't you do that. Why did he run after them? Why did he run after them? Bo, are you talking about Bo? I don't know if you're talking about KD. I don't know if you're talking about KD, but from all reports, they went and flew to the Hamptons to recruit Kevin Durant after they went 73-9 and lost a 3-1 series lead to the Cavaliers. Golden State went and flew to the Hamptons trying to get Kevin Durant to come to their team. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, Draymond Green can say all he wants about how much they didn't need him or whatever, but they went after him. Kevin Durant was the free agent, and they went to the Hamptons to put their bid in for KD. KD didn't come to them. All reports have said that. So, I mean, Draymond Green just consistently throwing jabs because he's such a core 3 guy. And they are a very, 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 very successful team as constructed. But he went to them.
So how about this? Let's look at Game 3, which, if I'm not mistaken, should come on tomorrow, right? Game 3 should be tomorrow. Wednesday. Okay, so another
Wednesday in Boston.
Another 3-day, right? 3-day stretch.
Yeah.
What adjustments? I'll let you look at. I'll let you switch sides for a moment. What adjustments do you think that Boston needs to make to win Game 3? Obviously, it's in Boston.
All right, so I'll tell you adjustment number 1. Between Al Horford, Robert Williams, and they gave Daniel Tice a little time last game. Mm-hmm. Between the 3 of those bigs, they're going to have to start showing on those pick and rolls, or those, when Steph Curry, when they're setting those screens for Steph Curry, they're going to have to get up and show every time, especially now because, okay, let's say, you got a Draymond Green. Mm-hmm. Are you really confident that Draymond Green can beat you on the roll, or that Kevon Looney can beat you on the roll?
No.
And then even deeper than that, let's say, okay, boom, they get that roll, they're kicking it out. We've been mentioning Klay Thompson is in a bit of a slump right now. Mm-hmm. So I think at this point, you have to make someone else other than Steph Curry beat you. Because one thing about this Golden State team, one thing I will say with all the Kevin Durant talk, whatever, one thing I will say is that they feed off of Steph Curry. When Steph is hot, they're front runners. When Steph gets it going, you're in trouble as a team and as a unit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's probably one of the major adjustments that Golden State definitely. That's one of the major adjustments that that Boston definitely has to make is that their bigs have to step up on those screens and stop allowing Steph to just come off screens and walk into, pretty much wide open threes, which are kind of layups for him. Beyond that, they need to get some consistency from other guys outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I mean, like we mentioned, Al Horford can't score 26 in game one and then score
And
two
scored
in
2
game
points.
two. You
That's
know what I'm saying?
ridiculous.
Marcus Smart, he hasn't necessarily shot. He made, those two big daggers down the stretch of game one, but he hasn't necessarily shot the ball extremely well, you know, in the first two games of this final. So they need Marcus Smart to kind of, come up with a slightly better game offensively. And then either Derek White or Grant Williams needs to knock down some shots. We've seen Derek White knock some down in game one. Maybe game three, going back home to Boston, maybe this can be a Grant Williams game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We've seen Grant Williams knock down 7 or 8 threes in a game 7
It
against
did.
Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think those are the two adjustments for Boston. You know what I'm saying? Those bigs really stepping up and hedging on those screens and making Steph get rid of the ball and making somebody else beat them. And then another player outside of Tatum or Brown being consistent for those for the Boston Celtics.
So that's for Boston on Golden State side. Surely they can't rest on their laurels because Ime Udoka has his wheels turning. He's making moves. He's making
Mm-hmm.
adjustments, and he's definitely going to come ready for Game 3. What are some things that you think Golden State needs to bring into Game 3, or maybe be ready to make some switches, to make some adjustments on the fly, to get another win?
Jason Tatum seemed like he kind of got things going for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what they can do as far as maybe trying to slow Jason Tatum now, but that could be one thing. And then two, just I think for them, they have to continue to have that same defensive effort for 48 minutes. And
Okay.
I'm not even going to say defensive effort, just the same effort, period, for 48 minutes. Because Golden State has a tendency, they'll come out maybe hot in the first quarter, then let up in the second. We all know what they do. They're notorious for their third quarter runs, but then they're let up in the fourth. So I think for Golden State, they just have to play 48 minutes of consistent basketball. And they need some sort of consistency from Klay Thompson and or Jordan Poole. One of those two guys has to consistently be, an 18 to 22 point per night scorer. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I know you mentioned Wiggins possibly being that scorer on both ends, but I think that there's just so much pressure on Andrew Wiggins on the defensive end
That it would
that I
be
think,
asking a lot
yeah,
from him.
I think that any spark that he gives you on the offensive end is just a plus. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully for them, Kayvon Looney can continue to, dominate on the boards and continue to get offensive rebounds and get them second chance opportunities. But I think Klay or Jordan Poole have to be consistent for them.
So you really have the spotlight on, like, Jordan Poole is really on stage. He's really in the spotlight where he has to perform. Like, he has to be the guy or one of the guys.
He does, man. I really think either he or Klay Thompson has to be at least a 18 to 22 point per game scorer in this series for them to come out on top in this series. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just look at game two. Just look at game two. Pure evidence in game two. Steph had 29. Their second leading scorer was Jordan Poole with 17. And Jordan Poole got it going in the second half, and it kind of coincided with their run. You know what I'm saying? So he needs one of those two guys, especially, and one thing about Klay is so much more. And I agree, Bo. I do think that they need to get Gary Payton II more minutes. I don't as a matter of fact, if I'm correct, I don't think he played at all in game one. So the minutes that they gave him in game two, allowing him to get kind of a spark, he did. And he's another guy that they can kind of spot and throw out there at a Jason Tatum or
He's a
a
bigger guard,
Jalen Brown.
bigger
He's
wing
another
defender.
guy that they can throw out there along with Otto Porter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've seen Otto Porter go 4 for 5 from 3 in game one. So he's another guy that they can kind of throw out there and spot minutes at those guys, especially with Iguodala, and we don't know how that knee injury is going for him. But I was just saying, they, like I said, Klay Thompson really needs to find some way to get it going. We know what Steph Curry's going to do. Klay Thompson isn't necessarily a guy that you can give him the ball and just expect him to go get a bucket. Jordan Poole coming off the bench can, in spurts, in maybe 5 or 6 minute spurts, get it going. You can put the ball in his hands and he can put it on the floor and get to the bucket. If you lay off of him, he can drain the three in your grill. You know what I'm saying? So he's a guy that can kind of create some offense for himself. So that's why I think obviously it's important for them to get Klay Thompson going, but Jordan Poole is a guy. He's another guy. I think he's ultimately the only other guy who can even remotely create offense for himself. And I think that's important for them.
Okay, fair enough. So predictions. Let's go ahead and go scores. What you got? Game 3. Tell me what's the score. Why?
All right.
Why do you think it happens?
I think game 3, crazy enough, I think Boston comes out extremely, extremely motivated in game 3. I think they come out. I think they jump on Golden State early. I think that Golden State makes a run, another third quarter run, and they make the game close going down the stretch. But ultimately, I think Boston pulls away a little later in the fourth. And I'm gonna say Boston. If I have to give a score, game 3, I'm gonna say Boston 113-102.
Okay.
So Boston goes up 2-1. Once again, I still have Golden State winning this series in 7, but I think Boston going home, I think they win game 3.
And it's funny because me and him was pretty much on par. We were pretty close score wise. I had it 110-98. I think with Boston, that nobody may not have an explosive scoring night. Their leading scorer may have 24, 25, 26 points, similar to what Al Horford did in game 1. But if they can just get a little bit more from their supporting cast, if they can get 8 to 10 from a Peyton Pritchard, if White can give them 10 points, if Marcus Smart, I think Marcus Smart is a 15 to 20 point guy. If he can give them somewhere in that range, if Jason Tatum, even if he doesn't bring it as a scorer, if he can do a lot more distributed and playmaking, I think that opens them up. And if they turn the ball over just a little bit less, the game looks different. So
and you're right on that because they had 18 turnovers in game 2. Yeah. And if you notice when they turn the ball over, when they even throughout these playoffs, when Boston can cut down on their turnovers, they don't lose.
Yeah.
They don't lose.
They really, I'll be honest, and this is not a jab at Golden State because obviously they played a hell of a game. But Boston more times than not shoots themselves in the foot. And they have some of the dumbest turnovers I've ever seen in basketball.
Yeah, like sometimes Jalen Brown will try to dribble. He does a little too much with his dribbling, and he'll turn the ball over. Or sometimes they get out on a break, and it's or sometimes. And although he's gotten a lot better, sometimes some of the shots Jason Tatum take are like turnovers. You know what I'm saying? Because he'll rush a shot or take a shot early in a shot clock or something, and he missed, and it's just like a turnover.
Right. Yeah. So I'm
going Boston game 3, 113-102. I think it starts out as a really, really ugly defensive game. Don't be surprised if at halftime the score is 48-44 or something. I think it starts out as a really, really ugly defensive game. I think it opens up just a little bit more in the second half, but ultimately I think Boston, kind of imposes their will. They feed off that home crowd, and I think they get game 3.
And obviously I got 110-98. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely an exciting series. Anybody that's been on my Instagram, Tiberius519, knows I said it. I put the post up. I say we have two traditionally built teams going head to head. I think this is great for basketball. No more of that super team crap. Just teams that built it
Mm-hmm.
the long way, the long hard way, and they're slugging it out in the NBA Finals. So, um, recipe for
And that
success.
and that and that and that can't be understated. The fact that we are looking at two teams who didn't do it through free agency, but really
They
did
built
it
it.
through the
They
draft.
they
They
built it.
really, so
Especially this Golden State team. I said this, and I don't know if Swan remembers this. This when we were in the Navy. We were in the Navy. We would, God forbid, we didn't work. All we did was talk sports. But I told him, I said, people better, man, it's terrible. And I used to tell people, I said, people better enjoy this Golden State right now because they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna heal up, and they're gonna be right back into contention. I
Oh
likened it
yeah.
to. This is what I likened it to. Like anyone that has a big cousin or a big brother, older sibling, and they always beat you up. But then you have like that uncle or somebody come in and hold them down,
Hmm.
and they let you beat them up. But deep down in your heart, once that big sibling or big brother, big cousin get up, you're gonna get your ass whooped. So
Word.
but you enjoy the moment, right?
And
So
I
that
think it's good. It's good for basketball. Golden State is becoming one of those teams that is just good for basketball and good for the NBA to see them in the finals. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
no, no,
They're slowly but surely becoming one of those in college. We call them blue bloods. They're becoming one of those NBA blue bloods, like the Lakers, like the Celtics,
the
like my
Spurs.
Bulls,
I
like
think
the
I
Spurs.
think they're like
Golden
the
State.
Spurs. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they're
Golden
more like the
State.
Spurs. Yeah.
They're becoming one of those teams where it's just and then that San Francisco Golden, Oakland area is a big enough market where it's just becoming really good for the NBA to have that team in the finals. So yeah, man, y'all continue watching. We'll continue analyzing it. I know I had a lot to say about Draymond Green, man, but Draymond Green just irks my nerves sometimes, man. He just really gets under my skin because he sometimes he talks like he's one of those guys, and I have to be honest.
He's
Draymond
gonna make the Hall of
Green,
Fame.
Draymond Green, he's been to a few All-Star games.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
He's going to make the Hall of Fame. I have to say it. It is what it is. Everybody gets in. He's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Uh-huh.
But you put Draymond Green. Draymond Green has been blessed to be in the perfect situation with the perfect set of teammates. You put Draymond Green on any other team, and he's not the Draymond Green that you see who he is.
He's the
And Exhibit A, when Clay was out, when Steph got hurt, nothing. Nothing.
he's
Numbers
he's
were terrible. Terrible. You know what I'm
he's
saying?
the
But when he got his guys with him, oh, he's tough Tony. You
hey
know what I'm
look,
saying? He's just not that guy to talk in the manner that he does.
he's the Eli Manning of basketball. What a big
Hey
mouth.
man, I mean, at least Eli come playoff time. Hey, you have to fear Eli if he got into the playoffs. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
I guess, but Eli Manning was an average quarterback. Another story for another day. Average quarterback on some great
Mhm.
teams, but he had some big moments. Another story for another day. See if we get always trying to violate somebody, nut grabbing, bull somebody shorts down. Yeah, he's pretty bad.
All of the above, man, and that's his niche, bro. Draymond Green is like he's like Pat Beverly with a bigger a larger Pat Beverly with a little bit more basketball IQ. Seriously, because that's his niche to be an irritant. He's not. He's
Mhm.
not even that great of a defender. He's not even that. He's not that great of a one-on-one defender. He's an
Mhm.
irritant. That's what he is. If he can irritate you, if he can get under your skin, okay, he's done his job. But just flat out stopping something. He's not that great of a defender. Do you realize that Draymond Green once said that he thinks he's the best defender in NBA history?
Yeah,
He
he
said
said.
that.
Yeah, he said that. Hey,
Come on,
you
man.
got you got. Hey, if you don't
Come
believe it,
on, man.
if you don't believe it, who will? Right.
Come on, man. Stop. Please, just stop the madness.
But obviously, we could talk about Draymond. I'm sure we're gonna have some more. We're gonna see what his escapades are in Game
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Three.
I know I rambled on that one, man. But Dre just be getting under my skin, man. He be,
Yeah.
Draymond, play ball, man. Just play
Yep.
ball, bro. Just play
Uh-huh.
ball.
But we gotta talk a little bit of NBA draft rooted in basketball. Um, NBA
Yes,
draft coming up. I
sir.
want to say it's June 23rd. Rooted in Sports will have a show. We'll cover the
That
draft
June
and
23rd is a holiday.
what's special about it
It's a,
again?
I don't know, man. It's it was a king was born that day. You know,
Is that right?
and I'm not talking Tiberius.
Oh,
That's a very very special birthday. You know what I'm saying? A swan was born. You know. I'm sorry, man, but like it was said, man. I believe June 23rd, NBA draft this year. And the draft lottery went down a couple weeks ago. So, so
uh-huh.
we already know what the draft order is going to be, and so we figured we'll get into as we did during football season. We had a rooted in football segment. Well, we thought we would go ahead and do kind of a our version of a rooted in basketball segment, and it's not quite as in depth because obviously, the NFL has 7 rounds and a slew of NFL players. But we thought that we would do a little something for the NFL draft for the NBA draft over the next couple weeks leading up to the NBA draft. So we thought that we would at least go over the lottery and do the lottery picks over the next couple weeks. So
So
um
so that being said, I guess I can ask you this: we got Orlando at 1,
mhm.
right? The Orlando Magic at 1. Before we even talk about who they're who they would possibly pick, what's the state of their franchise right now? What's the state of that organization? What do they have to work with?
So the Orlando Magic, I think that they have some decisions to make as far as some of the young guys that they do have because right now they have just a slew of really really young guys who are in their core, like the core guys they play from Cole Anthony. They got Franz and Mo Wagner brothers, Wendell
Mm-hmm.
Carter Jr., Mo Bamba. A
Mo
couple
Bamba.
years ago, they spent the draft pick on Jonathan Isaac, who has missed the last. I think they like Jonathan Isaac, but Jonathan Isaac has missed the last couple years due to an ACL injury. Last year they drafted Jalen Suggs, who I was really big on coming out the draft last year, who didn't necessarily have the best rookie year, but he kind of came on toward the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. So I think Orlando, they really have some decisions to make as far as this young core and where they're going to go and who they're going to keep or possibly move on from moving forward because they got a lot of really young pieces. I mean, Cole Anthony led them in scoring last year, and he was only getting about 16 a game. Um, so yeah, I think they and crazy enough, Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs, who they drafted last year, they really play the same position. They've been trying to play both of those guys together, but in essence they really both play the same position. So
They're both point guards.
yeah, so they're really gonna have to really figure out um as far as some of this young talent, who they're really believing in, who's really gonna take them to the next level and um who not. You want me to get my pick for him though?
Yeah, I wanna know who your pick is. I know I got a pick for him that might be surprising, but who do you have?
All right. So as far as this NBA draft goes, I think that the consensus theme is there are 3 guys at the top of the draft. You got Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, and Paulo Banchero.
Mm-hmm.
In some order, one way or another, those 3 guys are going to go 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
It's really those 3 guys and then the rest of the draft. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As far as for the Orlando Magic, I think they're gonna go Jabari Smith out of Auburn. Now, let me say this about Jabari Smith. First of all, I love this kid. I was trying to, earlier today, I was trying to come up with a player comp for him. I don't know why. The only person I could really think of, he's like, for me, he's like Chris Bosh with a little meaner defensive tenacity. And
Okay.
I say that because you could argue that Jabari Smith, as I believe he's 6'3", you could argue that Jabari Smith might be the best shooter in this draft. And he's kind of in the
Well, that's
mode
the
of a
consensus belief that he's the best shooter in this draft.
he is, and he's kind of in that mode of a Chris Bosh, a guy who could really kind of stretch the floor like that. You know what I'm saying? He's really athletic. When he puts his mind to it, he can kind of be a rim protector. But for that Auburn team, what he did great was, obviously pick and pop. You know what I'm saying? And bigs weren't willing to step out on him, and so he made the three at higher than 40. I want to say about
43 was
42,
43%.
43%. He made the three at a 43% point clip for a big. And in this league, in the way that the NBA is going right now, GMs and owners are just salivating at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To be able to find a big that could possibly be a rim protector, who runs the floor extremely well and who can shoot the ball like at a 40% clip. And then on the defensive end, he can kind of move his feet and slide his feet too, because he's not slight of feet. He's fairly athletic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These GMs are just, they're drooling over that. And so I think at number one with Orlando, I think that I think he's a little too good for them to pass up. And then for them, they're just gonna have to figure out, okay, if we get him, what do we do with a Mo Bamba? What do we do with a Jonathan Isaac, who, like I said, has been who's had an ACL injury that's kept him out the past 2 years?
Mhm.
What do we do with both Mo and Franz Wagner, who I think they like both of those guys? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I mean, I think a guy like that, they're gonna have to find a way to squeeze him in and just see what they got. And then, like I said, once again, how are they gonna fit Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony? And then don't forget, they still have Markel Fultz down that roster.
That's right. They do.
So what do you do
Forget about
there?
Marco.
They still have Markel Fultz down that roster, who I believe got hurt again. So he missed a lot of the season again last year. So, I mean, like I said, they have some decisions to make as far as the youth on that roster. But for me, I think number one, they go Jabari Smith.
So, who I may say it may come as somewhat of a surprise, but
Okay.
when I got a chance to watch everybody's tape, and I do love Jabari Smith, and he actually is
Mm,
a really good shooter. I think he's a little bit. I think he can do some things like a big, but he can also he kind of seems a little like he plays a little bit more like a wing,
okay.
especially that
And I
he's
can
more
I
kind
can
of.
I can see how you say that.
But when looking at Mo Bamba is looking like a bust. Um,
Agreed.
but when looking at maybe they want a little bit more physicality in the paint. And obviously this is positionless basketball. I looked at Pablo Banchero, and he's really a positionless player. He's a
At
guy that
one.
I won, yeah.
Okay.
And because to me, he's a guy that could be their power forward. He could be their wing, right? And this is the difference between him and Jabari Smith. I think Jabari Smith is the better shooter, but I think Paulo
Mm,
Banchero is the better passer. And you've
okay.
seen
Yeah.
at times at Duke that he's initiated the offense. They gave him the ball and they've let him distribute and play make and move guys around and get in perfect spots. He's Nate. He can get to the bucket. He's really
He
athletic.
can.
Um, I couldn't find an exact player comp for him, but to me, there's so many different. We don't know what he's going to transform to. He's obviously like a
Mm-hmm.
ball of clay, but to me, he can be a Blake Griffin. He could
Mm.
be Ben Simmons, right? Or he could mess around in his career trajectory, and he could be. I'm not going to say he's going to be this player, but he could be something in the mode of a Giannis because he says this is a 6'10" guy,
I had
and
some.
he
I'll tell you. I had a comparison for him, but I'll tell you, because obviously I have him in this top five. I'll tell you my player comparison for him when I tell you when he's going. But yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. But no, he really has a well-rounded game, and he has a little jumper. He got a little
Hmm.
mid-range jumper. So he really can do a lot. He's tenacious. He's a rim protector. He'll play defense. He'll attack boards. I think he's the all around player and positionless player that could fill multiple needs for Orlando that Jabari Smith cannot. But maybe they feel like Jabari Smith may give him a little bit more star power in the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what they have to choose from. Obviously, I'm going with Paulo Banchero,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure because they have Jalen Suggs, they'll be a slight bit tempted to go with Chet. But I don't think that's gonna. I don't think
And
that's
it's funny, and it's funny you mention that because for those that don't know, Jalen Suggs played with Chet Holmgren in high school and in
in college.
Minneapolis, you
Yeah.
know. So and then obviously Jalen Suggs went to Gonzaga. He played a year left, and then obviously
Mhm.
Chet Holmgren went to Gonzaga as well. So they didn't play with each other in college, but they played
Yeah.
with each other
In
three
high school.
years in high school.
Yeah.
So
They're,
they
they're really
definitely
close.
are very familiar. They are very close, very
Yeah.
close. They definitely are familiar with each other. So don't be surprised if you see Orlando go with Chet Holmgren just because of that familiarity that he has with their first round pick last year in Jalen Suggs.
And if they did, that would say a lot about how they feel about Jalen Suggs. That would say that they feel
And
like they can build
and
more on him.
how they may or may not feel about Cole Anthony moving forward.
True. True. So, like
But
I
yeah,
said,
I got so you got Banchero going one, I got Jabari Smith going one. We can go ahead and get into the number two pick, which is owned by the Oklahoma City Thunder.
mhm.
Um, Oklahoma City is another team. They went 24. They were 24-58 last year. They're another team who has some decisions to make as far as the young talent that they do have. Obviously, with them, he got hurt toward the end of last year and kind of missed the rest of the season going down the stretch. But obviously, for them, everything starts and stops with Shea Gilgis Alexander.
Who's
Right.
stud, young stud.
Yeah, he is. He is. And it's crazy. When he was at Kentucky, I didn't think too highly of him at all. I
Mhm.
wasn't big on him at all. But he got into the league. I think that it was a blessing for him being able to play that one season that he did play with
With
Chris
Chris
Paul.
Paul, yeah.
I think that was a blessing in disguise for him. And I have to admit, for a guy who I still think doesn't have a consistent jumper, he is a 6'5", 6'6" point guard, and he's pretty damn good. I got to give it to him.
Yeah.
So for Oklahoma City, everything starts and stops with Shea Gilgis Alexander, but they also got a few guys, a few young guys who I'll say kind of in their minds probably kind of overperformed for them. You know what I'm saying? They got Lou Dort who went to Arizona State. Lou Dort was getting about 17 a game for them last year, and he's a guy who has consistently improved his game since he got into the league. Because coming into the league, he was he was they consider him a 6'4" power forward.
Mhm.
That's who they consider him coming into the league, and now he's turned himself into a fairly reliable shooter, even from three. So you got a guy like him making who was getting about 17 a game. I know that they are really high on Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey is one of those guys who really has an all-around game. You know what I'm saying? I believe I think if I'm not mistaken, he was getting about 12, 8, and 6 last year. I got to double check on that. 12. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's it. He was getting about 12, 8, and 6 last year. And he had maybe about 8 or 9 triple doubles last year. So he's a guy who they really think that they can put the ball in his hands and he can just really be kind of a creator. Not necessarily an offensive threat, but a guy who can really kind of create for them. Um, they still got Darius Baisley, who I know they're high on. Even Alexei Pokasevsky, who's a shooter for them. You know what I'm saying? So they got some guys that they really another team with some young talent. Another another team with some young talent who they really kind of got to make some decisions on. I think for them, not even so much a specific position, but they just need to hit a home run.
Right.
They need another bona fide stud. They just flat out need a stud. And so for me, I think that they'll go best player available.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they'll go Chet Holmgren, who's a guy that they need. He was a 7 foot big with a 7'4", 7'5" wingspan, long,
Mm-hmm.
wiry. He will rim protect. He can shoot the ball.
I
He
love Chet
can
Holmgren.
hand he
I
can handle
love
the
his
ball.
game.
I've loved his game since he was in high school in Minneapolis with
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Suggs. I've loved this game for a long time too. My only fear with him is that he is so thin. He is really, really thin. A comparison that I have for him, and I really hate to make this comparison, but at this point in his career, I think I have to.
Kevin
At
Durant.
this point in his career coming out, I'm gonna say Porzingis. I see Porzingis for him. I
With
think
less with less
early,
with less durability issues.
yeah. Obviously, with less durability issues.
And a little bit more tenacity defensively.
I think when we seen Porzingis with the Knicks, I think we thought. I mean, obviously they nicknamed him the Unicorn, and I
Right.
think we thought that we seen a guy who was tenacious, who could block shots, who could make the three, who was running the floor like a deer. You know what I'm saying? He just had so much more passion. Porzingis had so much more passion to his game when he was with the Knicks, vice when he went to Dallas and now ultimately in Washington. He just has so much more passion to his game. And that's kind of I kind of equate Chet Holmgren's game to that now. You know what I'm saying? I think Chet Holmgren is a much better handler of the basketball. Hey, Dre, I'm with you on this though. You might want to get him hooked up with Giannis, trying to get a little muscle on him. I'm with you on that, bro. But Chet has a much better handle to the basketball. Um, I think at Gonzaga last year, and his numbers may not blow you away, but I think Gonzaga is just one of those teams where they'll never have a guy that is just going to blow you away with their numbers because
That's not
they're
what the
they're
game
that type
plan.
of
That's not
they're that
exactly.
type of team that are just going to move the ball around. You know what I'm saying? And then he had a senior there in Drew Timmy who led them in scoring, and they were kind of going to run their offense, through Drew Timmy anyway. Um, but I think looking at Chet Holmgren last year in college, there are a few concerns. You know what I'm saying? One, obviously, being size. Two, can he be physical? Is he physical enough for the NBA game? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because immediately guys are going to touch him up. Guys are going to put a body on him. Guys are going to try to push him around. And so once he gets drafted going into next season, he's going to have to get into the gym. He might have to do
Which I'm
the,
sure he's already started.
I'm
I
sure
would
he
hope.
will. He might have to do the opposite of what Zion Williamson seems to be doing. And he might need to go ahead and take a few meals. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He might need to go ahead and get him a trainer and get him a chef or something and just really think about his core and his body and ass and pounds because the skill set is there. Actually, I believe of everybody in this year's draft, I think
Chet's
that
the most
Chet,
skilled.
I think he has the most upside of anyone in this draft. You know what I'm saying? I think he's really big. I think he can be a really big boom guy if he maxes out. I think he has the most upside of anybody.
And the scary part is his size is really the only major big red flag. He doesn't have many holes in his game. He's not a terrible defender, especially
He's
for him
not.
being a
He's
smaller.
not.
No, he's not. And one thing I like about Chet is despite him being so light and so skinny, he plays bigger than what he actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen him body up, do his best to body up with 230, 240 pounders, jump up and grab boards. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna stick his nose in there. So he's not a scary guy. Obviously we know he has a very nice post game. He has a nice jumper. I think Shed is they're gonna beat him up in the West. He is. He's gonna get beat up. He's gonna take some L's. But I think that's the only big red flag about Chet coming out. He has a very complete game, in my opinion.
And he has no problem being a rim protector. He would
No, he
he would
doesn't.
go after every ball that goes up toward that backboard, man. And you gotta love that. And then he's the type of player that can go block, or can go get a block, or go get a rebound and take it the length of the floor, and then pull up from three, or take it the length of the floor, and then he has the skill to make that pass for that layup or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that you don't have to worry about him making an outlet pass because you could just have guys fill their lanes, and he's skilled enough to make the right play in that situation. So, like I said, I really think that of the guys in this draft, and there are a few sleepers in this draft, but I think of the guys in this draft, I think that he definitely has the most upside of anyone in the draft, bro. And I think he'll
That
fit right in with that Oklahoma City team because I don't think there's not really any other big that he really has to contend with. He'll come right in and start right away and possibly be able to pay dividends right away. Whereas
and,
Jabari Smith, he might get there and he might get there and
have to
possibly
work.
have to get in training camp and battle out with a few guys, for a starting spot.
And I think the best thing, and I also had Chet going to OKC as well, because the fit just
Mm-hmm.
made too much sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if you can get Chet, and I guess see if you can get active in free agency, maybe bring in another one or two big bodies that can
Right.
really get in that rotation with him to really bring him along slowly, because obviously he's going to be in the lineup. But I would look at year one playing him a lot more at power forward, which he's more than capable of doing. And I think that will help him build the confidence and hopefully build the size over time, and then he eventually becomes your starting center. But I think you treat him similar. Granted, he has less size, but I think you kind of treat him a little bit like Tim Duncan. He's a versatile. He's a stretch four. He can play the 4 and the 5, but his game is just so well rounded. So I know I got Chet going to OKC as well.
And I'll say this about Chet as well. He's not a guy that lacks confidence.
No, he's not. He's very confident.
If you listen to some of his interviews, or if you listen to people who've talked to him pre NBA draft or whatnot, and someone literally asked him who's the best player in the NBA, and he said, "Well, when I get there, it'll definitely be me." You know what I'm saying? And you could think for a young guy, for a little kid, so slim, you could think like, boy, you about to bite off more than you can chew. But then the other part of you has to think like, hey, you got to love that confidence, because I think that's something real quick. A guy like Anthony Edwards with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he had that same type of confidence.
Who's growing on me so much?
He has, and I think that's the type of confidence that's really helped and aided his game, because he is a budding star in this league.
Yeah, he is, and almost quite. And I think because he's so humble and so laid back, that he's kind of flying under the radar, and people aren't realizing how damn good he really is. So, but yeah, he is a budding star. But as far as Shaq,
and Anthony Edwards gives some of the best post game interviews.
and the funny part is he's not trying to be funny. He's just being himself. Like that's just
seriously.
But going back to Chet, you talked about his confidence. The first interview I ever seen with Chet is when he was in high school. And Chet was actually, if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't originally a big. He was more of like a wing guy that kind of grew into being a big. And he embraced it.
Like Anthony Davis. A lot of people forget that about Anthony Davis.
Similar, he was a guard. He was a guard, and he had a growth spurt. But I think, from my understanding, Chet was more of a wing guy. He grew, but he embraced being a big. That's the difference between, I think, him and Anthony Davis. He thrived and embraced it. But I remember him saying, he was like, "Well, look, I'm not really a big man. Like, I'm not a center. But if you guys want to classify me like that, I'm just going to give your center buckets all day. So if you guys want to do that, it's up to you." But he was so confident in the way he spoke. So I think he's going to be okay. OKC, I like, and it's a good environment. They obviously have a bright future ahead of them. A lot of young players, but I have him going there as well. So 3, Houston.
All right, so Houston is another team with some young talent. I actually love Jalen Green. I think last year coming out of the draft, I thought that Jalen Green had the most upside of anyone coming out of the draft, and I still believe that. Actually, I still believe that. But they're another team with some young guys. I love Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know what they're gonna do with Christian Wood. Christian Wood is a big for them, who can kind of stretch the floor or whatnot. He to me, he's kind of a one-trick pony. You know what I'm saying? He can kind of score. He can stretch the floor a little bit as a big. But if you're looking to him to rebound or defend or block shots, you're not going to get much of that from him. You know what I'm saying? He's a one-trick pony. So I don't know what they're gonna do with him. Eric Gordon's not getting any younger. Um, they still have that cloud of John Wall hanging over them. No one knows what they're gonna do with that contract. No one knows if he'll ever play another game for this Houston Rocket team. Obviously, they want to go young and stay young. I think for them moving forward, their core is going to be Jalen Brown, and Jalen
Jalen.
Green, and Kevin Porter Jr. I think moving forward, their core is going to be those two guys. So I think for them, they're probably going to go best player available, and seeing how I think Jabari Smith is going to go 1, and I think Chet Holmgren is going to go 2. I think that at number 3 with this pick, I think they go Paolo Banchero.
Ventura. Me and him have like the most backward NBA draft.
I think they go Paolo Banchero here. And he's actually a guy who I think can kind of fit in really well here. Because like you said, he has a really interesting set of skills. He's not at this point in his career, he's not the best shooter, but at 6'9", he is fairly athletic, and he can handle the ball. He can kind of make some plays, you know what I'm saying? So I think that he's a guy that, once again, he's one of those guys where he can get the rebound off the break or he get a steal or whatever, and you don't have to worry about him making an outlet pass. And then you can have guys like Kevin Porter or Eric Gordon get out on the wings and spot up for the 3. Or you can have a guy like a Jalen Green run a wing and get up there and finish with tenacity. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think Paolo Banchero can be a really, really, really good fit for this team. I think moving forward, he obviously has to work on his jump shot. He at Duke, he went to Duke last year. I'm sorry. He played at Duke last year. He showed some potential to be able to knock down, at minimum the 20 footer and then some threes. He stepped out.
He has a little mid. That's what I'm saying.
He definitely has a little mid, but I think moving forward, he definitely has to work on improving his jump shot. But I mean, off the dribble, he's phenomenal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he is.
And he can quite possibly be a matchup nightmare because he's a type of 6'9" guy. I don't know. I'm still not sure if he's necessarily a small forward or
he's a 6'10" guy.
Excuse me, 6'10" guy. I'm not necessarily sure if he's a small forward or a power forward. I mean, in today's NBA, he's perfect because he can kind of fill both spots. You can kind of play small ball and fill him right in. But if you put a big on him, he's a matchup nightmare.
He is.
Like, he's the type of 6'10" guy you cannot play a big on him because he's just going to break him down off the dribble and he's going to get to the bucket. He has some really nice moves. He has a great spin move around the bucket, and he's the type of guy that will go up and try to finish ferociously.
And
you know what I'm saying?
He can. I know he's a big guy, but damn it, he can play the wing if you need him to.
He can.
He has the athleticism to play the wing.
He can, man.
And I think that's what makes him so sexy, because he can play. Excuse my language. I think because he can play the 3, the 4, and the 5.
I agree, man. And like I said, I just think that he can really cause some real matchup problems with his set of skills and possibly seeing other bigs be put on him. And so for this Houston team they have a few shooters who they can kind of spread around them. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Green can shoot the ball. Kevin Porter Jr., Eric Gordon. Quiet as it's kept, they still have Dennis Schroeder on that roster as well.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Man, he be bouncing around. They pass him around.
Jayshawn Tate. So they have a few guys who they can kind of stretch the floor with. You know what I'm saying? They're still a very young team, but they have a few guys who they can kind of stretch the floor with. Obviously, the Houston Rockets want to go young and stay young and just rebuild like that. So yeah, I really, really think that Paolo Banchero can be a really good fit for this team.
Well, there's no mystery who I got. I got Jabari Smith Jr. going to Houston.
And you know what? But that's not bad at all.
No. No. It's
because,
not.
like we just said, we already went over his skill set. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like he can go there and really, really stretch the floor. What I do think is that if they do go that way, I don't think he'll fall to them. But hypothetically, I think if he goes there, that I think they're going to try to move Christian Wood
You're right.
because
Rightfully so.
Christian Wood isn't athletic, but as far as on the offensive end, I think they have a lot of the similar skill sets. So I think
Mhm.
they moved Christian Wood. But no, I mean that would be. I think they
Yeah.
would leave the draft ecstatic if they could get Jabari Smith at 3.
Yeah. And he would give them instant scoring upside. If it's one thing he can do, Jabari Smith, obviously he can run the floor, play a little defense. But if it's one thing he can do, he can shoot his ass off. He can shoot the thread off that ball. So
He
he
can.
gives and Houston. You guys heard me. I talked about this when we did Rooted in Football. We talked about the NFL draft. Houston right now, the Houston Rockets are eeny, meeny, mighty, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. They just need to pick somebody that can play, right? Because
I agree.
they're building from the ground up. So
And I actually feel the same way and I know we talked about him at 2, but I actually feel the same way about OKC.
yeah,
Minus a point guard, but they can really just kind of anyone who they pick can really just kind of slip in and fill a spot for them.
and make them
But
better.
no,
Yeah,
that'll be if Jabari Smith falls to Houston at 3, I think they're ecstatic about that.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. So I think that's why I have going to them at 3. Um, so we have Sack now.
So Sacramento Kings.
I
So
mean, so much talent, but wasted.
I think that this is a team that could go a lot of ways with this pick. I think obviously I think like I said before, I think those core 3 guys, Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, um, Paulo Banchero, I think that those are the consensus picks as the best 3 guys, in this draft. And then I think beyond that, I think everyone beyond that is a toss up. Now there are a couple guys who a lot of people feel like are kind of right there at that 4 and 5 spot. Once again, I think Sacramento, they're a team who I think has the talent and the ability to who have some guys who could possibly they could take this trick, this pick and flip it and get maybe another veteran player and make a run at the playoffs in the West because I don't think what were they? They were 30 and 52 last year. And it's kind of crazy to say this about a team that was 30 and 52, but they are not as bad as their record shows. They're really not.
Okay.
Um,
Well, we've been hearing.
um,
Well, first of all, we've been hearing that the Kings were going to be good for like the last 3 years, and they,
we
you
have,
know,
we have,
we have,
we have.
and I feel like Memphis did what we thought the Kings were going to do.
I think Memphis was a little further along in their process. Um, but I do agree. I mean, I do think that they've been doing what um Uh,
What we envisioned the Kings.
I don't think. Excuse me. I don't think Sacramento has quite lived up to some of the expectations that I think we have for them.
Right.
With that being said, I mean, I love some of the pieces they have. I have always loved De'Aaron Fox, even from not UCLA, from Kentucky. From the moment he
Mhm.
left Kentucky, I love De'Aaron Fox. I love they made the trade last year. They picked up Sabonis from the Pacers, who I
Which
love.
is big. Yeah, which is big. Sabonis is pretty damn good.
He I think he's a very, very, very underrated big, a very, very underrated player in general in this league. I love Domantas Sabonis, son of Arvydas Sabonis, who, if you guys didn't get to see him play, his pops play in the league, arguably one of the best passing big men ever. Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis, Domantas' dad.
Hmm.
But anyway, his son is a ferocious rebounder, great scorer. He was getting about 19 and 12 last year. Then they still got the kid that they picked last year out of Baylor, Davion Mitchell,
Hmm.
who I still think that you're gonna get some great basketball out of him. I still think he's gonna have a really long, great career. Davion Mitchell is a ferocious defender. And then De'Aaron Fox missed some games toward the end of last year in which Davion Mitchell kind of chipped in and he was
and did a
getting
good
about.
job. Yeah,
He
he
really,
took
really,
really good.
really did.
He took that opportunity and ran with it.
He did,
Hmm.
man. And so I think that it's really got Sacramento thinking: is there a possibility where they can play both him and De'Aaron Fox on the floor at the same time? So, and I said that for a reason. So, with that being said, I think that most basketball analysts, their consensus pick as the fourth best player in this draft is probably Jaden Ivey. The
But
only problem,
they don't need
exactly,
guards. They don't need a guard.
exactly. The
They don't need
only
a guard.
problem is the Sacramento Kings don't need a guard. So at this pick, um, let me get to my hold on. Let me get to my board here. Excuse me. At this pick, I got them going with Keegan Murray
Me
out
as
of
well.
Iowa,
Iowa.
forward out of Iowa.
Hmm.
And once again, I think the only reason I have them, if they keep the pick, because I really think they'll consider maybe moving back in the draft and trading this pick. But if they keep the pick, the only reason I have them going with Keegan Murray is honestly because I just don't think that they need another guard.
No,
Now,
they need big.
I'll be honest. And now Dre says this. He says they could use a two guard, which okay, possibly, but I don't see Jaden Ivey as a two guard.
He's a
You
one.
know, I really truly see Jaden Ivey as a point guard, and that's why I think that they're really gonna have a decision to make as far as if they can truly play Davion Mitchell and De'Aaron Fox on the court together.
Yeah.
So
They don't need another like they don't need another point
and
guard.
so exactly, I think that's why they got rid of Tyrese Halliburton. I think that's why they added him in that trade to the Pacers. You know what I'm
Which they
saying?
caught a lot of
Because
fire for. A lot of people was
they
like
did
on them
because
about that. Yeah, he's a
and
good player.
even Halliburton was surprised about that because Tyrese Halliburton I think is a really good player. I think he's
Right.
going to be a really good player, but they were stuck with three really capable guards already. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't think they would get rid of Halliburton and right on, right on, right on. So I don't think they would get rid of Halliburton and then go back and get Jaden Ivey, another guard who could possibly,
It'd be
you know what I'm saying,
overkill.
be it. Exactly,
It'd be
exactly.
overkill. Yeah.
So
But
that's why
But Keegan Murray is a good pick. You know, he to me he's not. You know, obviously he's not like the former guys we just mentioned, Jabari Smith Jr. or Paolo Banchero, but he's more of a true big that can
he
shoot.
is. He is.
He's a true big, true power forward that has a nice mid range jumper.
He does. And that's why I think that I mean, once again, okay, so you get him, you still got Sabonis. And Sabonis is a bonus. Has been an all-star.
Right.
So it begs the question, okay, you know, what do you do then? You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna try to play small ball? They still have Marvin Bagley.
They
And
do.
and I don't know what they're gonna do with him. You know what I'm saying? Ironically, just as an aside,
Who you were big on years ago.
And I still am. Crazy
Yeah.
enough, just as an aside, I kind of for a while I wanted the Bulls to kind of make my squad the Bulls.
To
I
make a
wanted
move.
my Bulls to make a move for him. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, another story for another day. Marvin Bagley hasn't been necessarily getting along with coaching and with management there, and it's kind of gotten him in the doghouse a time or two. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know. I think that they're gonna go Keegan Murray just because, as far as bigs go, he might. I think the consensus theme is he's the best big that'll be available to them. Personally, I think that there's another big. I like Mark as a big personally.
Mhm.
I like Mark Williams from Duke better than I like him. If Barnes would be what they thought he would, listen. If Harrison Barnes was what we thought he was, he would still be in Golden State. And that's just that. If Harrison Barnes was, listen, I'll go a step further. If Harrison Barnes was what we thought he was, Golden State would have won that finals in 2016. Because people forget that in games 5, 6, and 7 in 2016,
he filled in.
Harrison Barnes shot the ball terribly in those 3 games. He missed so many open shots, it's not even funny. And they may have very well one of those games and been the champion in 2016 had Harrison Barnes played well. And so, thus, you've seen him just kind of get cast out to Sacramento, and he hasn't been the player that no one thought he was. Do you know this? Fun fact about Harrison Barnes before I get back to the draft. Do you know that Harrison Barnes was the first freshman preseason consensus All-American in college basketball history? Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes. Now, mind you, you've had guys like Kareem or Lou Alcindor back in the day, Bill Walton, whatever. He was the first consensus preseason freshman All-American in NCAA history.
Consensus.
North Carolina guy now. You know I know. You know what I'm saying? North Carolina guy, but another story for another day. Anyway, yeah, I think they go Keegan Murray. If they don't trade the pick, I think they go Keegan Murray at number 4.
I think he'd be a really good safe pick for him.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, for me personally, if we're talking bigs, I think Mark Williams out of Duke. I think he's a better big. I think he has a little more upside. I'll even give you another guy, and this guy is going to go far later in the draft, but I just like him just because I think that he could pay some dividends. He could possibly be in that Robert Williams category as a guy who, as he gets older in the league, he'll get better and better and be a rim protector. I like Jalen Duran from Memphis.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
He's good. He's really good. Yeah.
Just throwing a couple names out there. Jalen Duran was a really big name coming out of high school. He spent the last year in Memphis. Didn't quite go the way they planned, but just another name I thought I'd throw out there. But yeah, at 4, in all honesty, at 4, I do think Sacramento, if they keep the pick, if they keep it, they're going to go Keegan Murray.
And I agree. I had Keegan Murray going 4 to Sacramento as well, and I think he fills their immediate needs. Having that big at power forward could probably give you some spot play at center as well. But he's just a true big that's really going to do his job. And he, once again, coming in for a young guy, for a young big, he has a really nice mid range jumper. So
he does. And who knows? I mean, he may very well pan out to be.
You never know. Yeah,
this draft. Me personally, I'm just not too big on him. I'm not too big on guys out of Purdue, period. So I'm sorry, not
Iowa.
Purdue, Iowa.
You're not big on Iowa.
Okay. My next guy comes from Purdue, but not big on bigs who come from Iowa anyway.
So I guess I might as well start out 5 then.
Go ahead.
And I'm sure we're probably on the same boat.
Yeah.
I got Jaden Ivey all day.
Yep, I agree.
Going to Detroit.
I agree.
And I was watching, I've watched a lot of his tape, but I was watching some more earlier. And I'm like, man, this dude is really, he's probably the most athletic.
You took the words out of my mouth.
He's probably the most athletic guy in this draft. And there's times where he reminds me of John Morant, but he's a lot more bigger, a lot more thicker.
I'm not sure. Look. Hey, so first of all, Dre, this is one of my good friends from high school, and I'm not sure if you know who Marcus Pfizer is, but a while back, I think this was during the Tim Floyd era. The Bulls wasted a pick on Marcus Pfizer out of
Iowa. But
he played for the Bulls for about 4 or 5 years and then vanished. He was a power forward out of Iowa. Oh, I think it was Iowa State. Hold on, Dre. I think it was Iowa State. And the reason I think it was Iowa State is because I think Tim Floyd coached at Iowa State. I want to say Tim Floyd coached there before he came to the Bulls. Yeah. I think Tim Floyd coached there before he came to the Bulls, and then he picked up, and it was just a bust, bro. I'm sorry, it's just crazy that he said that because I remember that.
It took you down memory lane.
Yeah, hey, Dre, I'm with you, bro. For real.
Number 4 pick. I mean, hey, you're gonna get those, but I see y'all haven't let that one go.
Haven't.
Right. But yeah, so Jaden Ivey to Detroit. they have needs at point guard. He's gonna come there immediately day one and be the guy. And I mean, I think obviously Detroit has a lot of rebuilding to do.
Yeah.
They don't have
I
you
like
know
I do like some of their pieces though. You know,
yeah.
um they so during the season last year, I thought that they would move Jeremy Grant and they didn't. But Jeremy Grant was, kind of their leading scorer last year. I like him as a player. Jeremy Grant is a guy who, like you said, as you see, worked on his game. It just has consistently got better and better and better. A couple years ago, I want to say in the bubble, I believe that was, he was with the
Mhm.
Denver Nuggets, and I mean, outside of Jokic and Murray, he was their best player. You know what I'm saying? And I obviously I like Jeremy Grant. Um, so I'm with you. I think they go Jaden Ivey here. So I think for me that possibly moves Cade Cunningham to the 2, which
Which would be
personally,
good though.
I was just gonna say personally, coming out of the draft last year, I thought that he a shooting guard than a point guard anyway.
Right.
So I think that'll be really, really, really great for them if
And
they can, get Jaden Ivey, move Cunningham, or vice versa, or if they still want to kind of spot
but
Cunningham
but
at point guard and
but,
let Jaden Ivey be that athletic slasher
but
because he's another guy who I think still needs to kind of work on his jump shot.
no, he does. But I'm gonna tell you one of the biggest things I learned watching Jaden Ivey's tape. He's athletic enough to take the ball himself and take it to the bucket every time, or to pull up and take a mid
Absolutely.
range jumper. But I'm gonna tell you this: he's very selfless, and he's always looking for the open guy. He's a really good. He's very mature as a distributor. He probably can. He probably can develop his vision a little bit better, but he's
Mm-hmm.
always looking for the open man. So I think that'd be more of a natural fit. You free Cade Cunningham up to just
Mm-hmm.
essentially just be a scorer. I think
And
it'd
then
be I think it'd be a perfect marriage.
and
I
then they got Sadiq Bey, who had a I want to say 51, 52 point game last year.
mhm,
Who's a guy who could really, really, really be a street shooter. Um, they got Kelly Olynyk, who's another guy, another big who can shoot the
mhm.
ball. You know what I'm saying? They got Isaiah Stewart for the for those
Okay.
of you all who's not familiar with Isaiah Stewart. He was the guy on the Detroit Pistons who got his face cut and was running around crazy trying to get at LeBron during that game. That's Isaiah Stewart. But he's a real tough player, real tough kid. I want to say Oregon. I want to say he went to Oregon or Baylor. I remember the colors. I just can't remember the school, but either Oregon or Baylor. Anyway, real tough kid. Really ferocious rebounder. Really ferocious defender. One of those type of guys that you want on your team and don't want to play against. That's Isaiah Stewart for you. So I think yeah, you add Jaden Ivey to this team, and I think he and Cade Cunningham can kind of be interchangeable with that point guard spot.
Mhm.
I think I would prefer to have Cade Cunningham at the 2 because I think he's a little more of a natural scorer, and so I
Yeah.
think you'd
Definitely
want
a
to
better
take
shooter.
those. Definitely a better shooter,
Yeah.
and so I think you'd want to take those ball handling abilities away from Cade Cunningham and just kind of have him there and take that pressure off of him as a facilitator and let him be more of a scorer. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully Jaden Ivey can turn into more of a pure facilitator. And he is athletic. Like you said, he's very. If you watch him, if
Jaden
you
Ivey
watch
is
him,
athletic.
and
Jaden
I
Ivey's
don't want
athletic as
to.
fuck.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't want to make this comparison, but if you watch him, he has a little bit of Ja Morant in him.
That's what I said. He,
If you
he
if you
obviously
watch him,
thicker.
he has a little John Moran in him.
He'll rise.
He will.
Yeah.
He's really quick off the dribble.
Yeah.
He will, one dribble, boom, he's at the rim, and he will rise on you. You know what I'm saying? So once again, I do think Jaden Ivey needs to work on his jump shot, be a little more consistent with his jump shot. But yeah, beyond that, I see him there. I see him, going to Detroit at 5. And I really think, obviously, I think without a doubt, those top 3 guys, Jabari, Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero. Without a doubt, those will be your top three guys, your top three picks in the draft in one order or another. And I think beyond that, I think
That's all
look
it's
for
also.
Sacramento to possibly trade that fourth pick for some sort of veteran because I think that they do have a nice core of guys, and I think that Sacramento kind of believes that a little tweak here or there, and they could possibly make the playoffs. So look for them to possibly maybe trade that fourth pick. If they don't, I think they do go Keegan Murray, and then at five, I think Detroit goes Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey. No, I would agree.
And then and well, I don't know. I don't want to. I know we'll get into more picks, the rest of the lottery as we go on. But I mean, just a few guys to possibly look out for. A few sleepers who may possibly um crack the top five. I mean, don't be surprised. Johnny Davis, who's a more of a pure shooting guard out of Wisconsin, he could crack the top five. Don't be surprised. Um, and then also another guy who,
Arizona
um,
kid.
I love Benedict Mathurin.
Mm-hmm.
I love Benedict Mathurin. It from what I've been reading and from what I've been seeing, it seems like a lot of guys kind of have their inhibitions about him. And so I think that he'll still be a lottery pick. I don't know if he'll be in that top 5 to 8 range. I was gonna say be on the lookout for this kid, Shadon Sharp. Now, Shadon Sharp was supposed to have played at Kentucky last year, but I think he got into some troubles, and I believe he kind of redshirted or whatever. But he ended up sitting out all of last year from Kentucky. But he was a kid coming out of high school that guys were really, really, really high on, and so don't be surprised if you see him go a little early. And like you said, I mean, Benedict Mathurin, who's a guy who I really liked coming out of Arizona. Benedict Mathurin does need to work on his jump shot. And also, he didn't play extremely well in the NCAA tournament. And so I think that might have hurt him as far as possibly being a top 5 pick. And then really big, real quick before we go, he asked about Kofi, as in Kofi Kingston. I'm sure you're talking about I'm sorry, not Kofi Kingston. Kofi Cockburn and went to Illinois. I'm sure that's who you're talking about, Drake. Kofi Cockburn went to Illinois. Here's my thing with Kofi. I think that he's a prototypical big. He's a prototypical big in a jump shooting league. He's a okay. I thought that's who he's talking about. Okay. He's a Kofi Cockburn from Illinois. He's a prototypical big in a jump shooting league. Okay. I'm not sure if he'll be able to find some. I think that he will get drafted somewhere in the second round just because of how prolific of a collegiate career he had. I think he should have been Big Ten Player of the Year this year, but that's another story for another day. But just because of how prolific of a career that he had, I think that he will get drafted somewhere in the second round. But I'm not sure what his niche will be in the NBA because at the end of the day, although he has wonderful size, we know he's big and he's bulky and he can bully guys around. At the end of the day, he's only about 6'8", 6'9", and
undersized.
And he doesn't have any jump shot. He's not going to be no good to you outside of 10 feet. Now, around the rim, if they get him the ball around the bucket, okay, he can do a few things because he does have that size and that girth. And I think he is a really excellent rebounder. But in this league and the way the league is going now, I'm not sure if Kofi Cockburn can really find success in this league now because he's a really prototypical big. 10 years ago, he might have been a top 10 pick, but he's just not that prototypical big that they're looking for now. He can't guard the pick and roll. He's just not the type of big that the league is looking for now. So, yeah.
But man, that was Rooted in Basketball. That was Rooted in Basketball segment 1. We have 2 more segments to go. 5-5-5. So we'll end at 15. He says an Oak Hill alum. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I like I said, I like Kofi, man, but I'm just the way the league is going right now. I'm just not sure if he can find. Um, I'm not sure if he can find success in the league now, and he could prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because he has a little bit of I'll tell you who he reminds me of a little bit. He has a little bit of Montrezl Harrell in him. Like Montrezl Harrell, when he was at Louisville, Montrezl Harrell was a really tenacious guy under the rim. You know what I'm saying? And then once he got to the league, he kept that same ferociousness. He kept working hard, and he ended up developing a 12 to 15-foot medium range jump shot as well. And so that's who Kofi Coburn kind of reminds me of. But I don't know, just the way the league is going, man. I'm just not sure where he can fit in at.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm gonna tell you this: the NBA draft is so interesting for me, and it's very fun, very challenging for me as a football guy. You know, even though I follow and am well versed in basketball, because it looks a lot different, and a lot of the prospects don't get the publicity that a lot of the NFL prospects may get. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to really do your research. Like I had to really watch tape on some of these guys that we're talking about. So it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be interesting. We're gonna cover 6 through 10 next time, and then we'll cover obviously 11 through 15 the next time after that. So rooted in basketball, a lot more to come up. Always feel free to chime in. I felt like since we had about 5-10 more minutes, even though we're a little over time, we might
Mm-hmm.
as well just jump in
Oh yeah,
five ten
let's go
minutes.
ahead.
Wait, I think we got to do it. You know, this guy Deshaun Watson, who is a very talented young quarterback, obviously missed a year through allegations of sexual harassment with multiple professional masseuses, if I'm saying it right, or massage artists, or however you say it, massage therapists. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now he's just a few days ago he had his 23rd case, and just this morning his 24th case
24th.
was filed, and the NFL has been consistently investigating. They don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I'm sure they're coming to the conclusion of what they want to do. Some people question, okay, is it going to be a 6 game suspension? I personally think it's going to be closer to 10, and don't be surprised if he misses an entire season, because it looks so bad, especially when you read
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that happened today. What are your thoughts on some of that?
let me let
the
me
the deep breath says it all. The
let
sigh.
me let me start by saying that I I hate to see something like this happening to, and I have to say this.
Go ahead, say
I
it.
hate to see something like this happening to another black male. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it
I
sucks.
have
No,
to
it,
say
it
that.
sucks. You're a black male. Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
Um, with that being said, um, you know Isaiah was on last week, and we kind of touched on a little bit of this, and we both said the same thing. If nothing else, if nothing else, we have to come to the realization that at a minimum, Deshaun Watson was being reckless at some point or another.
Yeah,
Now, whether you want to believe to the full extent of the things he's been accused of, that's one thing. To each its own. But if nothing else, we have to believe that Deshaun Watson was being a tad bit reckless. I read, some of the allegations today. The 24th allegation.
very
Um,
graphic.
it very. First of all, I'm surprised that that graphic of detail was even
Oh, forgive me.
released to be known
In the
prior
public.
to a trial, actually
Yeah.
happening.
Right.
Um, I don't know, man. I think I kind of agree with you. Initially, I thought, because he had all those charges dropped in Texas. Initially, I thought, okay, maybe he gets 6 games and then he's back. But the more and more that's coming out, I think that Roger Goodell is going to try to send a message, and I think you're right, man. I think he might miss
An entire
probably
season.
the an entire season, man. I just feel I don't know, man. I feel so, I guess, disappointed, man. You know,
Yeah.
as a black male, I just hate to see another black male going through this, you know. And I have to be honest, man. I have to be honest. Unpopular opinion. I have to be honest, you know. Everything in me, you know, Wale made this song, him and Kelly Price. And this is nothing against anyone else, but they made this song called excuse me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm rooting
Sue
for
me, excuse me,
everybody that's,
sue
yeah.
me, I'm
Sue me.
rooting for everybody
So
that's
everybody
black.
that's black. Yeah. There you go. That's the real lyrics. Okay.
And you know, I guess in essence that's me. You know, I can't help it. Not that I don't root for anyone of any other nationalities, because I absolutely do. Tom Brady is there ever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
But you have to, you know, sue me. I root for
Well,
everybody
yeah.
that's black.
Well,
And
you're gonna.
I
Yeah.
just hate that he's going through this, because even beyond that, I am a realist. I am a realist.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing else, he was reckless. And I just, I don't know, man. He and nothing else, he's done something wrong. 24 individuals aren't going to, you know, 24 individuals aren't going to be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
He said it should be in this contract that he can't get no more massages. Sheesh.
Cleveland might want to look into that.
Well, this is what I'll say. And this is gonna sound bad, but it's getting to the point to where, like, I mean, like you said, we're a little bit on par that he was being reckless. I do think that he's at a minimum exhibited unwarranted, um, uncalled for, inappropriate sexual behavior towards some of these women at a minimum. Come on, like
Mm-hmm.
24 don't just bounce out the
20,
woodwork.
exactly.
Maybe 10 and less. Maybe we can talk about conspiracy, but 24, come on, bro, you did something wrong.
Exactly.
But
Maybe not all of them, but
maybe not
some of
all
these
of them.
women you've wronged.
But you know, it takes me back because before this, what's one thing we knew? Deshaun Watson has always been a very likable guy. He's been a good kid, very happy. Um, you know, we thought the world of him coming out of Clemson. He was very clean. Came from a nice family. I know it was just him and his mother. So you rooted for him.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes in American sports, especially in football, my favorite sport, you get cases of individuals who they look really great on paper, but hey, people are people. People have flaws. People have kinks. Let's just be real. Look, we grown
Yep.
men. People have. There's some freaks out there, man. Some look. I'll be honest. Look, hey, look. I'll be hearing some stuff. Look. I was having a conversation with a woman the other day. I said I hear some of the things that go on, and I pull the covers over myself, like man, like you know, like I'm a whole virgin out here. But I say all that to say is people have their own kinks, and it kind of takes me back to, you know, Darren Sharper, who
Mm-hmm.
was a phenomenal safety in the league for a long time and finished his career out
Uh-huh.
with the New Orleans Saints, and possibly
He was
with
he
our,
was he on the Super Bowl team?
he was.
He was, okay.
He led the league in interceptions that year.
Mm-hmm.
And New Orleans led the league in turnovers and points off turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and then to find out that he had multiple sexual assault allegation, well, not allegations that got proven to be true,
I mean,
but
yeah.
and here's the thing, and I say this as a very heterosexual man. Darren Sharper is a handsome guy. He's a handsome, he carries himself well. He's a good looking guy. You didn't think that he would have to do those type of things, but that
Yeah.
was his kink. That was his fetish. That was something that he got off on. And ultimately, it's something that, you know, it all came full circle, and those women wind up stepping forward. So when looking at this Deshaun Watson, he very well there's a chance that he could there's a chance, small percentage, that he could be innocent, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's a very real honest chance that he's just imperfect. and we may have
Exactly.
seen just a little bit of his flaws, and that's something that he has to address, whether it be therapy, whatever it may be. But
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what's going to happen, I'm going to tell you this: if it's going to be bad, if it does come out and he does wind up getting proven to be guilty or whatever, um, his reputation, it's gonna be pretty bad. He's gonna have to do a lot of rebuilding of his reputation. He'll definitely miss some time in the National Football League. But I mean, his whoever his damn PR coordinator is, I mean, he might as well go ahead and front load them, send them 2, 3, 4 million up front because they got a hell of a job ahead of them.
I mean, but how does one come back from that? You know, and okay,
Therapy,
and okay,
therapy, and accountability.
yeah, and I mean,
Okay, so
I
watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Okay,
Dre,
so look,
I don't know what to say to that. I can't even.
Dre, let me answer this. Okay, I'm gonna answer this two ways. Okay, one, as a black man, we know what it is,
Yep.
right? We don't even need to speak. We don't even need to speak on that.
Was
Two,
understood need not be said.
I'm gonna say this. On the other end, he got accused in an era in the
Uh
NFL
huh.
where the scope really wasn't on the National Football League like that. Remember, this a lot of the NFL taking action and punishing its players, that's culminated over a number of years. Like people forget the Ray Rice situation. This man knocked his wife out. They gave him a 3 game suspension. But after a while, it got so publicity got so bad they were like, okay, well, damn, our hands are
We
tied.
can't.
We can't
Exactly.
exactly. So the thing about Deshaun Watson, and I say this about most organizations, I can say this about the military because I was in the military. Most organizations only drop the hammer because they have to, because perception, because optics,
Exactly.
right? They
Exactly.
can't. It cannot be like, oh man, you mean to tell me the NFL this dude sexually harassed a woman and they didn't? Because I bet you. Let's be honest, the NFL is a
And then this is
business.
a totally different time. Times
It's a
are different right
times are
now
different.
anyway. You
Exactly.
know, and not no slight at all. No slight at all when I
Hmm.
say this. But this Me Too movement is real.
Oh no, it's real.
Women are empowered and rightfully so.
Hmm.
Rightfully so. Because there has been so many instances of men doing wronging women and women being too afraid or being in situations where they felt like they couldn't speak up, they couldn't tell their truth. And so a lot of women have been wronged for so many years. And so, you
And
know, now even even whether that is or isn't the case, this is just the wrong time and the wrong era in history to have something like this come up.
sure. And let me slide this in. Men too. There's been
Men as well,
yeah. There have
yeah,
been some men.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just had to show some
But
love for
that's
them. Yeah. Yeah.
men as
Yeah.
well. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's
At the
that's
most, it was like it's a look. Hey, look, Andre, we're on the same page. We're on the same exact page. But I'm telling you that one is we already know it's the unspoken truth, right? We can go ahead and lay that out there. We don't even need to talk about that. It's sickening. Yes, it is.
it
And on
is.
the other end, during that time, let's be honest, the NFL absolutely was not. They were they were not in that era of accountability yet, where they really had to hone in on their players. And now, if that happens now, the opposite situation. I mean, Big Ben, his career probably ends.
Yeah.
So
But like you
that's just
said, I mean, and there is unfortunately, I'll say it. You know what I'm saying? There is a color aspect to it.
of course.
Point blank and simple, bro. You know what I'm saying? Dre is there's a color aspect to it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the same way that it is in life in America. Period. It's not just in football. No matter what it is, that's just the aspect. That's just what it is. Period. You know what I'm saying? You could be working a regular 9 to 5 at the post office. There are some things that you, because of your hue, aren't going to get away with. And there are some things that others, because of their hue, will get away with.
It's facts.
That could be from working at the post office to being in the service to being in the NFL. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying?
It's part
It
of
is
the
what it
game.
is. It is,
So
man. And that's just something we have to be cognizant of. And Deshaun Watson should have been cognizant of that. It's unfortunate to say that, but that's something that he should have been cognizant of.
it,
And at the end of the day, he was being reckless. There's no, like you said, Kenny,
it
there's no way 2024 there at a
come on now.
minimum he did something he
He
wasn't
did
supposed to do.
something. He did something. And you know, this could vary, and that's why once again I'm gonna continue to push this mental health therapy. He's
Mhm.
gonna need, regardless of what how the situation shakes out, if he comes out scot-free, that man needs therapy. And he needs to work through some of the issues or maybe approach like why he has it. Because hearing the amount of women that it is, um, scout their talent, who's scouting their personality. Thank you, Andre. I'm about intangibles. I'm about intangibles, and that's why a lot of people
You preaching.
they get Google Gaga on the big arm and the athleticism. But the truth is that you have to look and see who these people really are. But going back to Deshaun Watson, um, the amount of women that it is, and it wouldn't, and somebody tweeted something that made me think, and they said, "Man, all these women are coming forth." It wouldn't surprise me if somebody from Clemson came forward, that somebody that he possibly wronged while he was at Clemson came forward, and they were shut down by that university, and they were paid off or something of the sort, because they have PR
Oh
people in
well,
place.
now
So so what I'm just saying, it when they tweeted that, it made me think, like, because the amount of women that this is, and this is just 24, it wouldn't surprise me if there's many more. If
you
this comes out to really be true, this is a habit. This is something that he was You don't get reckless doing something. Watch this. You
absolutely.
don't get reckless doing something unless you get.
No, you're absolutely right.
Can you hear me?
No, you went a little. Can you hear me, bro?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I hear you now. I can't really see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, that's crazy. I can see you. We're dealing with a little turbulence, you guys. But I say all that to say, you
Okay,
don't
you
do
coming back.
any.
You coming back a little
Okay,
bit. We hear you though.
you don't do anything that level of reckless unless you've gotten away with it a substantial amount of times.
No, oh yeah, I agree, bro.
So
I agree 100%.
so we're I think we're gonna find out. I hope we don't find out, but I believe we're gonna find out how deep the rabbit hole really goes, and it could possibly get ugly.
It could, man. And I once again, I I hate to see another black man go through something like this, man. But I'm gonna just say this, and I'm not even going. Um, let me stop just saying black men. Everyone, men, women alike, everyone. This is a new day and a new era. And some of the things that were okay and that were cliche to do or say back in the day,
That shit's
these
over.
aren't the times. That day is over. So for everyone, men, women, black, white, orange, green, whatever, for everyone who's in any position, who is in any place where they could ascend and be, whatever, be cognizant of what you say on social media and be cognizant of what you're doing in your own personal time, because everything what happens in the dark truly comes out the light.
Eventually,
What happens in the dark truly comes out the light.
it
And that's
event.
that's and for
Yeah.
everybody in more ways than one. And so
Mhm.
people, everyone of all nations, colors, creeds, whatever, man, just be cognizant of what you're doing. Think before you speak, think before you act, because in this era, anything can be taken in any manner and everything comes to light. Just remember that. anything can be taken in any way, and everything comes to light.
This is true. It's facts. So we're gonna follow along and we'll keep updating you guys on that situation. We'll see what happens. I know he's gonna get suspended. I just don't know how long.
Oh yeah, oh
So
yeah.
right now it's a foregone conclusion because their hands are tied. So that and plus the NFL's conduct policy isn't like as black and white as we think it is. It's very
Real
like
real quick, and I know we've been on forever now. Real quick, I just gotta ask this, and then we can get up out of here, bro. Do you think that there is any possibility that the Cleveland Browns cut bait?
it's too late. It's too late. Unless they put a clause in the contract that we don't know about.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if they released any. I know they released the details, but I didn't see any details in the contract that was pending with the case or any type of
Yeah.
conduct issues. If
And
they
we
have
know
a
he's in a
clause in
lot
the
of
contract,
money, and we know this here
It's-
first. I think they kind of made it so this here first year was still off the old contract. So if he did miss
Exactly.
it, he wouldn't be losing
Exactly.
much. And the next contract doesn't start until next season. So
exactly. So
yeah, I was just curious what you thought about that.
yeah, so I mean, I would hope, and it's funny because people were saying this is the most Cleveland Browns thing ever. And watch this, and I'm gonna get on my high horse a little bit, especially if this comes out to be true. They did Baker Mayfield dirty.
Man, look, come
And
on,
he was
man.
the best damn quarterback that they've had in 25 fucking years.
That's not
And
saying much that's not saying much.
So he's the best.
It's the Cleveland Browns. It's not
They've
saying
won
much, bro.
more games, and he's given them a chance to win. You can't ask
That's
for
not
more from a
saying it's the
quarterback.
Cleveland Browns. That's not saying much,
okay,
though.
But think about
And
this.
Grant, I don't think he's just a trash quarterback, but I don't think he's just life-altering either.
I think he is average with the ability to be with the eventual ability to be at a minimum good. I think he could be a top 15 quarterback.
Okay, yeah, he can be a top 15 guy, yeah. But
I think he could be in that same class as a Kirk Cousins, as a
I
Ryan
agree.
Tannehill. I think he can be
I agree
that.
100%.
And so
I agree 100%. But do you think that those guys aren't movable?
If you can't find quarterback is the most difficult position to find and to develop, to find somebody that can. Quarterbacks don't just fall off trees. That's why so many of them come in the draft every year, and so many of them get drafted. It's the biggest. It's so much turnover
and overdrafted because of Kenny Pickett. A lot of these guys we've seen this year would have never went this high in a normal draft.
Maybe true. I think maybe I agree with you on that, but. Quarterback is a very difficult position. So one thing I try to drive home and talk to people, I tell people this all the time. I'm rooted in the sports community. A quarterback that you hate, let's say a Baker Mayfield, right? Who a lot of people trash. Baker Mayfield is rare. He's rare. That's how hard. That's how high the failure rate for quarterback is in the National Football League. That Baker Mayfield is rare. That's just the truth. Because guys come in all the time and can't even give you an iota of his stat line. Guys come in and throw. I mean, look at Ryan Leaf, who, by the way, let me go ahead and on a positive note, is becoming a pretty goddamn good sports journalist and podcaster.
Yeah, I agree.
So he's turned his life around. But there was a time where people were saying Ryan Leaf or Peyton Manning. He came into the league to an actually talented Chargers team and laid a fucking egg. Tim Couch. Here's
my thing though. Here's my point though, and I know we got to get out of here. We finna get to going, but here's my point though. You're saying that Baker Mayfield. You just said Baker Mayfield is possibly the best quarterback that Cleveland has had.
No, he is. He's the best quarterback they've had in 25 years.
Okay, but then in the same sentence you said he could be a top 15 quarterback. So what is that saying about the Cleveland Browns?
But that doesn't. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you this. Let's. Okay, this is the comparison I use. Let's say you drove a car. All right. Let's say you drove a bucket. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a car. Let's say you drove a Cutlass, like a 70, 78, 79 Cutlass, right? Whatever, right? It's a bucket. It's a little old, but it gets you around.
Right.
All right. Even though this car isn't the best, it isn't super high quality, it gets you from point A to point B. Mind you, before that, your ass was taking the bus and you was walking.
Okay.
You want a better car, all right? But the truth is, you may not be able to afford a better car. Would you sell? Would you get rid of? Would you get rid of that Cutlass and attempt to get a better car? If you tried that and you failed, then you would look like a goddamn fool. You couldn't get a better. You couldn't get a upgrade or a better car. You would look like a goddamn fool. Getting rid of a car that was reliable and that was getting you around. It may not have been flashy, but it was getting you around.
I mean, I get the point you're getting here. I
So
get
you
the
get what I'm
point
saying?
I get the point you're getting to here.
Little tough. So my thing is Baker may not be sexy, and he may not be the sexy pick. He may be a little mouthy, but the truth is I feel like he's done more for that Cleveland organization, quarterback wise, obviously than they've had for a while. And you genuinely can do worse than Baker Mayfield.
So is your beef more so that Cleveland took a chance on a quarterback who has so much going on off the field that he may not be able to pay
they took a
dividends with him
gamble
on the
I'm
field?
gonna tell you this.
Okay.
They took
Because we do both agree that Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback.
Oh, of course. That's not a doubt. That's not a
Okay.
shadow
All right.
without a shadow
All
and a
right.
doubt. But my thing is Cleveland took a fucking gamble. Because the truth
Okay.
is, you can say whatever you want to say. Baker Mayfield's a starter in this league.
Okay.
He's a
All
starter
right.
in this league.
All right.
So
I can't
so
disagree with that.
if this Deshaun Watson stuff blows up in their face, they're gonna look stupid.
Then they look stupid, yeah.
They're gonna
Because
look like idiots.
and I feel like at this point they have to get rid of Baker. There's no way Baker can go back to that.
No.
And now they end up with Jacoby Brissett.
Hey, imagine the conversation. Deshaun Watson is out of football indefinitely, right? Because that commissioner exempt list, that shit is indefinite. That's like limbo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, imagine.
And now they,
hey,
yeah,
look,
bro,
imagine. Look, hey, big head.
Yeah, bro. We always had faith in you. We always thought you could, get us to the promised land, bro.
We just felt like we had to do what was best for the
he was available. We thought we'd take a chance. All right, man.
So
hey, man. Well, once again, guys. You know what I'm saying? I know we done. Once again, me and this dude, we can go literally for hours. We at 2 hours and almost 3 hours now. But yeah, man. Once again, man, we appreciate all you guys for tuning in.
It's fun.
Obviously, make sure you subscribe to the Break Room Breakdown podcast. All right, you know what I'm saying? My boy King Tiberius is doing a lot of great things, man. And what I love most about it is that he gets outside of the box, man. You know what I'm saying? He's really kind of teaching he brings people on that kind of teach new sports and catches it from a different angle, man. So y'all make sure y'all go ahead and catch that, and definitely look that up on YouTube, subscribe to that. Tell them about the Rooted in Sports community, because it's an open community. For those that don't know, it's an open community we do on Twitter Spaces. Tell them about that, Kenny.
So first of all, just follow Rooted in Sports on Twitter.
And on Instagram.
But on Twitter Spaces, we hold Rooted in Sports community every Saturday. We get on and we just discuss a wide array of topics, and I mean, man, it's all fun. You get to obviously chop it up with us one-on-one, but guys go back and forth. We go topic to topic, whether it be basketball, whether it be baseball, football, boxing, MMA, right? And you really get to hear from different, and plus you get to connect with different types of people, and everybody's in their own bag, living their own life. Some guys are at home drinking, some guys are working, but everybody's on talking sports, and it's the community. It's been going a year strong now, right? We were on Clubhouse first, now we're on Twitter Spaces. So literally every Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Dre, if you got Twitter, catch us. Just type in Rooted in Sports. And then, like he said, if you type in Rooted in Sports, go ahead, follow us, Rooted in Sports. And then literally every Saturday we do a big group on Twitter Spaces. It's Rooted in Sports Community. Literally every Saturday, and you can hop in there, bro, and we'll add you on, and you get to speak your piece, and it gets heated in there,
Heated.
bro. Like
It gets heated. Look,
between the basketball and the football, especially the football, like some of those football conversations get heated, bro, and it's really great, bro. So, like I said, just on Twitter, if you got a Twitter, Drake, um, just Rooted in Sports on Twitter, follow us, and then literally every Saturday at I know you in Chicago, Drake, so every Saturday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 p.m. your time, Drake.
Mm-hmm.
It's on there. Hop on there and go for it. Okay.
Yeah. We'll go at it, and yeah, like I said, that's what's going on, and then the break room breakdown is on all platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify. But look out as new development. I'll have a break room breakdown Instagram. Be out pretty soon, so you'll get the link to that, and then you can reach my show straight from there. Because Tiberius 519, I'm doing root and sports stuff, break room breakdown stuff, just a lot of stuff going on. Oh, he said just followed us, man.
All right,
So that's good.
bet.
It's
Yeah,
big.
and then make sure you on Instagram. Make sure you follow Rooted in Sports on Instagram.
Mhm.
Hopefully you just followed the Rooted in Sports on Twitter, and then like I said, every Saturday is gonna be. I know you in the shot, Drake. So every Saturday, um, 2 p.m. your time, it go down, bro. And they, like I said, it get pretty heated in there. So be prepared. You know what I'm saying? Have your facts in order, bro.
Oh yeah, because people, yeah, like we'll go all day. People be pulling up. It's some straight up some Sherlock Holmes in that group. So yeah, it gets
hmm
fun. But man, it's been great. It's like I said, we had a pretty long show today, but I feel like it was needed because me and you haven't
Absolutely, man.
haven't
Back
haven't linked up in
the
about
dynamic duo
three
back together. You know what I'm
back
saying?
back together, right? Like we never missed a Monday together. So yeah, some exciting stuff coming up, and we'll have more rooted in basketball for you guys later on. Next time, we'll definitely have recap. I'm assuming the next time we meet, the NBA Finals will be close to being over. We'll see what happens. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so we'll have
Or
some.
if not, we'll be deciding a game 7 or something, as I predicted. You know.
We'll see. Or game 6, game 6. Right? We'll see.
Yeah.
So, but
All
yeah, man,
right,
it's
guys,
always great.
man. Much love. Like I said, make sure y'all go YouTube, subscribe to the Break Room Breakdown. If you haven't, go ahead and like and subscribe to Rooted in Sports on YouTube. And then hit the bell to get all the notifications. We go live here every Monday night, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Make sure you follow Rooted in Sports on Instagram. And yeah, man, we love you guys. We appreciate everyone for tuning in.
100%.
And yeah, till next time, man. Much love.
Most definitely.